going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of the Daily Grind. What's happening? I don't know what's happening with my transition. I think it's broke. Another day here. How's everyone doing? On today's show, we're covering everything Crimson Desert. We got lots of videos to watch. They're very long, so we're going to watch. Maybe we'll watch all of them, like all the way through. Maybe we'll watch bits and pieces of them. But there's a lot of different content creators that I want to watch. This is not me telling you Crimson Desert's good or bad. We're watching different content creators. This is to give you as much information as possible. You guys probably already watched most of these. I didn't watch any of these. So we're just trying to show you if you like the game, if you don't like the game. If you love the game right now, you probably don't need to watch anybody else. You know what you like, and that's what you want. So that's what you're gonna play. If you're on the fence, right? You're on the fence. You're like, I don't know. The world just seems a little daunting to me. The combat, I don't know if I like the combat. I don't know. It just seems way too big. It doesn't seem like it's real. We're going to watch all these different content creators, see what they have to say, and then you can piece together if you like it, if it's something that you want or you don't want, and hopefully we can help you out here a little bit. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. I like to watch different content creators and take the good, the bad, whatever they're saying, and then I don't take them for verbatim, like, well, he likes it, so I like it too. That's not how I do it, right? I try to pick different ones across the board and see what they have to say, and then go, you know what? I agree with that. I don't agree with that. Is this for me? And then pick it up, right? What's going on, chat? What's going on, Eclipse? What's going on, Mr. Z, Pone, Jason? Who else is here? Eric Jones, good morning. Aku, good morning. Altern, good morning. Travis, good morning. Sarge, good morning. Wonder Rose, good morning. Nate Dizzle, what's going on? Roadkill, Kingard, good morning. Who else is here? Jesse Mack. Glad to see your power's back on. Just enough. Good morning. Kylo, what's going on? All right. Ward, what's going on? Ward was one of the first ones here in the morning, and I had to scroll all the way back up and see his name. All right. So the people that we have that I'm watching, we have Luke Stevens. Okay. We have Force Gaming. We have Kazra. Is that how you say his name? Kazra Gaming. We have ACG, and we have Paul Tassi. Okay. We do not have any outlets like IGN or anything like that. I just saw that Paul Tassi wrote something. I have his written review, and I was going to read that, but then I saw that his video popped up, and I was like, maybe we'll watch that. So let's start off with Luke Stevens. Okay, we'll start off with Luke Stevens, and we're going to be here, and we're going to watch all of these things as much as we can. We're going to put it at 1.25. It's already at 1.25. And then let's see how it is. Crimson Desert comes out today, 6 p.m. on East Coast. Maybe you're picking it up today. Maybe you're not picking it up today. Maybe you're waiting for reviews that you're watching right now. Maybe you're waiting for me to watch reviews and give you my thoughts and opinions based on this. So let's see how it goes.
I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. Crimson Desert is one of the most remarkable games.
If this is too fast, okay, if this is too fast for you, let me know. It's at 1.25. Obviously, it's a 30-minute video. I don't think it's too fast. I mean, I'm used to 1.5, 1.75, so 1.25 I don't think is that bad.
Ever played, and I absolutely adore it. At this point, more than 60 hours in, probably more by the time.
I mean, that's all we need to hear, right? He says, I'm in. He's got 60 hours in.
This video goes up. It's far from perfect, but I am so thoroughly impressed with it. I think its strengths far outweigh its weaknesses. It is massive, it's complex, it's unapologetic in its lack of yellow paint and hand-holding, and it's filled to the brim with systems and ideas that keep you engaged for no doubt hundreds of hours. That's why I've titled this a work in...
That's gotta be an error, Altern. That's gotta be an error.
Progress review, because even now, more than 60 hours in, I still am probably 2/3 of the way through the main story, and God knows what percentage of the way through the open world activities and the side content. And that's because the side activities and the exploration is so thoroughly engaging. I find it difficult to focus on the main story because there's just so many.
I think that's going to be, I said it in chat, and I've said it leading up to this. I think the most daunting part of a game like this, especially coming from someone that is a dad that doesn't have as much time to play the game, is the giant factor of just how big the map is. Like, people look at this and go, oh my God, I don't even know when I'm going to have time to play this. So a lot of people might not pick this up because it's too daunting of a size of just how long it will take you to finish the game, right?
Secrets to be found out in that.
And then on top of that, there's no hand-holding. Like, zero hand-holding. There is no Skyrim marker on the map that says, hey, you gotta go here.
Open world. It's so compelling that I just want to get lost in it, and the game makes it easy to do that. At this point, I'm not totally sure how long it's going to take me to roll credits, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's well over 120 hours based on my current pace of progress, which is wild. Another way to say this is that it is exactly what it appeared to be in the trailers, for better and worse. And that means that some people are going to love it, and it will be their favorite game of the last decade, but others will find.
Cliff says one of the reviewers only had like 10 hours, and like, what the fuck are you doing with your job? Like, how that's not a review. I've watched more footage of Crimson Desert than he's played. What's happening here?
Find it willfully obtuse, confusing, and difficult. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what it is, how it works, no spoilers, of course, using footage from the first probably 30-ish hours of gameplay and the first couple of regions. So don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything that I would have liked to experience myself with a first look, okay? So I'm going to be sensitive to those of you who are really excited and don't want spoilers, okay? I get you. I feel you, okay? I'll take care of you. But to put all this really simply, Crimson Desert makes me feel like a kid again, playing...
I like how it says day 11 already inside the thing, so this is like farther in the game for him.
Skyrim in my mom's basement. It's that sense of endless
which he just said like the first 30 hours. So
wonder and opportunity, the idea that you can look anywhere in this massive world and there's going to be something for you to find, whether it's in a cave, under a waterfall, or tucked up in a tree that looks weirdly flat at the top. In a word, it's freedom, this sense of endless possibility. And that's what Crimson Desert really, really nails. And that's what I love about it. But some people, I'm sure, are going to be frustrated by how open-ended it is.
And I think that's going to be the biggest part. Minus the fighting, minus the difficulty or not scale of difficulty. Like, you could walk into a place that's way overpowered and they don't know where to go. So they're going to be like, well, how do I kill this guy? I don't know, because they don't know where to go. I think a lot of people are going to buy the game, play it, and not return it because it's going to be way past the 2 hours, but they're going to be disappointed. They're going to be like, I just didn't beat the game. I just didn't play it after I played 10 hours. I played 11 hours. It's just too daunting for them.
How unguided the game can feel at times and how little it holds your hand. Crimson Desert basically gives you a pretty robust series of tutorials and walkthroughs for the first 10 to 15 hours. That means it's going to be probably a rough onboarding process.
Very true, Pone. Very true. This game, and the developers actually said, they made this game to build a community around, meaning that even when the developers or the content creators that were reviewing the game, they got invited to a Discord channel so they could all help each other out if they were stuck. A game like this, when we were younger, there was no internet. You had to call Nintendo Power Up to help you. Hey, I'm stuck on this board. I never did that. Or you figure it out, right? In today's day and age, the internet, as you're saying, YouTube guides for this game are going to pop off. So if you're a person playing this game and you're going to help, that is the soft crutch of people will be like, I can't figure this out. I'm going to go to YouTube. See, I love games like this where I don't want any help. Like, when I play games like this and someone comes in and is like, oh, you got to pull the lever. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want you to tell me anything. I want to figure it out. Hence why I'm playing the game.
Process for a lot of people where they're just learning how this whole thing works, but then it opens up and lets you start exploring freely. And dude,
no, all time we never did that. We couldn't afford. It's like you had to pay a subscription model back then. We were broke. I'm not gonna pay like $6.99 to pick up the phone to ask somebody where to the fuck you talking about.
I got lost, like truly lost. I spent like 15 hours just wandering around, having an awesome time. I found a puzzle that I literally used a note card to graph out.
Oh my God, he had to use pen and paper. I don't know if you guys know this. Pen and paper is an ancient tool used by your ancestors that had to write stuff down.
Which ways these pillars moved when I used this wheel versus that to solve the puzzle. I got fully immersed and I loved it. But I think that is exactly the kind of feeling that some people are going to hate. They're going to want the pop-up with the orange arrow pointing where to go and what to do next. And that's just not what this game is. And I love it for that. Some people will hate it for that. But that sense of exploration that I love so much is precisely why
they will buy the game, play the game, and fail to get God. They had their hand held through life and now can't play a video game.
Yeah, thank you very much for the $5. Yeah, they had their hand held for so long in life, they can't even figure out a video game now. They're like, I don't know what to do. How do I do this? They get so frustrated.
It makes me feel like a kid again. Just like back in the day when you're playing a game like Skyrim as a kid, there's going to be things that leave you confused. There's going to be puzzles that you struggle to get through. There's going to be moments where you need assistance from an older sibling, or God forbid you Google something. And I think that that is actually where the community of Crimson Desert is really going to carry it across the finish line for a lot of people. As I've been reviewing this, I've largely been on my own. There has been a Discord server for us to access like technical support if we have problems with the game or if we have bugs to report and things like that. But we've largely been on our own to figure this out. But I would imagine once the game launches and the community starts helping each other.
Oh yeah, it's going to be like a cheat sheet, right? Because you got to remember now, the guides of these people that are playing 100 hours, 160 hours, 200 hours, they're already making guides. They're already making the things. So as soon as the game comes out, they're going to be like, you stuck on this problem? Here it is.
Solve puzzles, discover secrets, figure out a cool way to take down this boss or access this castle early. I think this game is going to get elevated to a whole new level. And it seems like Crimson Desert has been designed from the outset with that community-led focus in mind. Specifically, the idea that just like with MMOs, a lot of the coolest secrets and ideas can be found within the community, not necessarily within a tutorial.
Justin says, I get distracted. Oh, wait, where is it? I get distracted in open world games. I just go pick flowers, mine resources, then log off.
Or some guide within the game's menus. In other words, this game is much more Elden Ring than it is like God of War 2018 or Ragnarok. It is not a game like one of those modern third-person adventure Sony.
They have a first-person mode in this game. Like if you want to, you can't fight in first-person mode, but they have like, you can walk around in first-person mode and the third-person mode.
Exclusives. It is unapologetic in how massive it is and how little it guides you and how it wants you to get lost and figure it out. And that sense of getting lost is why I love it. It makes me feel like a kid figuring out Skyrim for myself for the first time, and I love it for that. That's also why some people are going to be frustrated by it and not connect with it. And that's okay. But that's why I'm trying to tell you, this is not the ultimate everything game where no matter who you are, you're going to love it. Everybody on earth will think it's a 10 out of 10. As with every game, there are strengths and weaknesses. It's not perfect. There are bugs. There are problems that we're going to talk about. But overall, I think the total package is something truly remarkable. And I, for one, really, really love it. And if I could be playing it right now instead of filming this, I would be. Because
that right there is actually a really good sign. Because when a person that likes to play games is like, I don't even want to do this review, I would rather be playing the game right now than doing this, that kind of says a lot.
Love it. I may or may not have it booted on my computer right now, waiting to get back in. Let's get into the specifics of all of this. The first thing I have to say is that the map of Crimson Desert is freaking gigantic. It truly is massive. I know a story started going around in the last few days about how Digital Foundry tested the game and they walked from one area of the map to the other and it took them 4 hours to get there. That does not surprise me at all. I would imagine if you're going from one corner of the map to the other corner of the map, it's probably going to take you twice that amount of time. That is, if you're walking and exploring and seeking things out to distract you. There seriously is a ridiculous number of little secrets to find, little quests to stumble onto, and the game is pretty well built out to encourage you getting lost like that, to encourage that ADHD, ooh, piece of candy mentality. It's also beautiful to boot. It is ridiculously gorgeous with the sheer volume of foliage, the complexity of the geometry they're rendering at any given moment, the sight lines and distance you can see, and it runs all of this quite well at the same.
I think you're gonna get a lot of pop-ins on console and stuff like that. You see console, you see on PC there's pop-in. A lot of people don't notice it, but there is a lot of pop-in.
Time. I've been playing the game through on cinematic quality, and all of the footage you're going to see in this video is at cinematic quality. It's a looker, but even on lower quality settings, it runs remarkably well. I wasn't able to get it running on Steam Deck. Every time I would try to boot it, it would crash saying this graphics device is not supported, but I was able to get it running on my Legion Go 2, and I actually played it while I was on an international trip last week, while I was flying over Iceland. Here's a little...
That doesn't really make sense, Crowded. He gave it an 8.1 and then said it's wait for sale. An 81, wait for sale. Okay.
Clip it of that so you can see that where I'm actually playing it while at 38,000 feet above Iceland. It's really, really impressive that it can even play on handheld devices like that. It's awesome. In addition to its beauty, it's also incredibly complex with tons of different systems thrown at the player constantly. Even 50 hours into the game, I was introduced to a new system I hadn't seen before. Like, dudes, there is even a bank in the game. There's a bank in the game. If you have a lot of in-game currency and you don't know what to do with it, or maybe you have a gambling addiction and you keep spending money and you're like, I need to put it somewhere or otherwise I'll spend it. There's a bank. You can open a safety deposit box and buy gold bars with currency and silver that you accumulate, and then put that in the bank and then select a risk profile, just like you're signing up for a 401k, and it will pay out based on the risk tolerance and how your investment does.
So you can invest, you can do investments in the bank. Okay.
Like, what? It's crazy. There's also countless mysteries to discover, and the way they introduce these is so nonchalant. I love it. You'll just stumble onto a puzzle in the middle of a forest. They don't explain anything. They don't give you a tutorial on how to solve the puzzle. It's just left up to you to figure it out. As an example, you'll stumble on this puzzle, which is just a massive grid with symbols and stuff on it, and they won't tell you what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to progress.
And I don't think they should. I don't think they should. I'm always amazed that gamers, and I'm not saying Luke himself, I'm always amazed that gamers are like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, we live in a day and age now that everyone wants the answers, like, constant. Like, if I don't figure it out in 3 seconds, I'm over it, right? Which makes no sense to me, because gaming in general is about problem solving. Puzzles, problem solving. Like, puzzles actually help you in your everyday life to figure stuff out. Like, almost like thinking like an engineer, right? Engineers have problems all the time they have to figure out. And there isn't a book that they can just open up and be like, well, how do I figure this out? Like, you do the thing. You do the thing. And I know people are like, well, I play games to relax. It's like, cool. Some people do crossword puzzles to relax. Some people do puzzles to relax. You might not like puzzles, but for the fact of, they're like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this puzzle. Try to figure it out.
Like, it's just up to you to figure it out. And I love that.
Yeah.
I devour it.
It's fantastic.
I think it's awesome. I love it. Some people will hate it though, because they're going to get to the puzzle and be like, what am I supposed to do? They won't tell me. And that,
like, you look at it, you're like, okay, there's a symbol. Like, I'm looking at it right now, right? There's a triangle over here. There's a triangle over here. I would try to figure it out. Be like, okay, maybe I have to make a point to get there. Maybe I have to get from this point, get to this symbol, and then get to that symbol. Maybe I got to, like, you figure it out. You problem solve.
that is precisely why I love it. It's just a matter of whether you like these kinds of puzzles where you just look at it.
Right? Some are going down.
And you have to deduce what
are they
you're
on a
supposed
timer?
to figure out. And
you got to fill in the whole thing. You have to make a shape. You figure it out. Is there something around the area that gives like a clue, right? Do I have to jump and only touch the actual logos? You know what I mean?
Love that. You're going to adore the open world exploration in this game where you see that and you've got to figure out what you're supposed to do. And when it clicks and you know what you're supposed to do, it's fantastic. But like, I love it. But some people are going to hate it. And I guarantee you there's going to be like games journalist memes out the ass with this game of people just being like, they didn't tell me what to do. Right. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Bad game design, when they're just slow. I said it. Okay. I said
yeah, they are. And I get it. Not everyone is meant to do puzzles and stuff.
In addition, the production value just across the board is outrageously high. Whether it's motion captured side quests, the graphical fidelity, no matter where you are in the map, the freaking water, dude.
They've said it from the very, very beginning, Crowded, that this is not a heavy story. That's not what this game is. They've said it from the beginning. So anyone going in thinking it's going to be a Witcher 3 or something like that is going to be sadly mistaken.
Looks crazy. Don't get me wrong, this isn't like the Decima engine when it comes to cutscenes, like with Death Stranding 2 or anything, but for an open world adventure sandbox, it's very good. I would say industry leading compared to the likes of other recent contemporary examples like in Assassin's Creed Shadows, for example. There are a bunch of boss fights, combat encounters, and even castle siege battles, which are expansive, and honestly, I don't know how they even got these running. Like, seriously, they will have hundreds and hundreds of enemies being simulated in real time, fighting against your allies who are also being simulated in real time. Like, I'm not joking when I say that some of the stuff they do in this game makes it look like other studios aren't even trying. It's ridiculous. You know, one of the common things that was said about Crimson Desert in the lead up to its launch was this looks too good to be true. There's no way this is real. And that was a fair feeling to have because up till this point, they're really
Like, what is happening in this scene? Is there like multiple factions fighting in this town? Like, what is going on?
has not been a game that's been capable of doing all of these things in real time, but they're doing it. It's just built different, dude. It's crazy. The combat is engaging, and while it isn't level-based, it's actually gear-based. I actually really like that about it. Level-based combat systems often lead to situations where you end up grinding some sort of XP or souls or some sort of currency to purchase levels to make your character more powerful and therefore more capable of taking on a particular challenge. In Crimson Desert, though, it's flipped and it's gear-based, meaning if you struggle against a boss, you can end your engagement with that boss, leave, go and either find material.
That's cool, right? You're like, I can't fight this boss. Now, you can brute force it. You could push yourself to try to beat that boss, or you can back off, go level up your stuff, come back, and then fight that boss.
To upgrade your equipment, or go do side quests that will give you better equipment with individual perks or just better stats, and that will better equip you to take on the boss. Meaning it's not just about hitting your head.
The way I play games, this game is going to be sort of like what happened in Avowed or all the other games I play, right? I search everywhere. I level up my character, and I'm OP by the time I get to certain things because it's rewarded me on my exploration, right? If you go around and do stuff and build up your weapons or your armor, and then when you go fight a boss, you're like, I didn't have a problem with that. At least that's how I feel. A lot of people go there, try to fight the boss, and like, it's impossible, it's too hard, but they don't want to partake in what the game is.
Against a wall, grinding some currency to get better to take on the boss. It's about actually progressing in the game to get better equipped to take on the boss. And when we talk about open world games, it's always about finding ways to get the gameplay systems to interlock and then encourage you to go back through the knot that you've created, to go through each and every single weave.
Right.
So if you want players to explore, give them a reason to explore.
Right. Like, what's that house over there? Oh, let me go over there and see it. Oh, what is this? Oh, what is that up in there in the mountain? There's a cave. Let me go up there.
Finding materials or quests or items that make it worth exploring. How do you make something worth it to a player? Well, you give them an actual reward, like a gameplay benefit, a perk, or some sort of attachment you can put into a sword to make it more powerful. And that's one thing that Crimson Desert does really well, is it actually gives you a reason to explore and makes it feel worth it. But like I alluded to earlier, I think the best thing that Crimson Desert does
Dude on a bear?
Is it just
high
fills
guard?
you with that sense
That dude's on a bear. Can I get a bear?
of endless possibility. And that's kind of hard to quantify or demonstrate with a clip. It's something that you feel when you get lost in a world for the first time and you accidentally play it for 3 hours when you meant to just spend 20 minutes going through a quick quest. It's a feeling you get when you get lost in a massive open world game for the first time. I had it with Elden Ring, with Breath of the Wild, with Tears.
Well, that's any game, Super Dave. That's any game. Any game that comes out that's brand new, the hype is there for like 2 weeks to a month, and then it kind of like dies off.
To the Kingdom. I felt it with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Red Dead 2. It's something that's rare, but I felt it here as well. As for whether or not other
Sarge says bears are for betas. Give me a rhino.
people will feel that same way too remains to be seen, but I personally really felt that way. And I mean, that's kind of what these videos are, is me sharing my...
Rhinos are very unrepresented in video games, Sarge. You're right. You know, bears are overplayed now. We need rhinos. A tamed rhino.
opinion. So there you go. However, this is where we get to the fun part of the video. It is not perfect, and there are plenty of things that people will not like about Crimson Desert that are worth being brought up, and that's where we get to the bad of Crimson Desert. It's not perfect. There's problems. The biggest problem, as far as I'm concerned, are the bugs. There are many of them. I ran into numerous bugs specifically related to things like puzzles or specific...
Bugs are in every game. That is not a problem with games. When we say broke and buggy games, we're talking about game-breaking bugs, right? So if a game has a fundamental problem with one of the bugs in the game that can't make you progress, that's a problem, okay? If it's just like little bugs, like the guys, floating in midair or glitching through, you fall through the map and stuff like that, but it doesn't hinder you into continuing the game. Like you fall through, you can reset and continue on. These little bugs are in all games.
Quests where it would tell you to talk to this guy, but then that guy either doesn't spawn, or you try to talk to him and there's no button prompt to engage with him at all, or maybe you do engage with him, but it doesn't complete the objective to talk to him, so the quest doesn't progress. Things like that are unfortunately quite common. 99% of the time they are resolved by either reloading or leaving the...
That's good. If you can just reload and it fixes it, cool. But if you forgot to save and you didn't save to a certain point, then that could be a massive problem.
area and coming back so things reload. But it was a common enough issue that it sort of became second nature to stumble into these quests, discover that they might be bugged a little, and then leave, reset, and try again. In addition, some other systems are not really user-friendly and don't control in an intuitive way, to the point where I think it's going to be really frustrating to people, and even get to the point where at times it will feel like it is bugged even when it's not. An example of this would be at a certain quest where you have to eavesdrop on different people throughout a small village in order to gain information about a local gang leader, basically. And so you go and you do this by pressing left bumper while looking at different targets that you are tasked with eavesdropping on. This will usually lead to Cliff leaning against a fence post or something to listen to them covertly. However, there's this moment where you are expected to eavesdrop on these two ladies.
They'll never know you're there.
The game tells you roughly the area where they are, and you figure out pretty quickly that these are the two ladies you're supposed to eavesdrop on. What the game wants you to do is to go and stand with...
I was just gonna say...
They are.
I just noticed like this, and I don't know why my brain thought of this, right? I saw this big slit here, and then I saw this big slit here, and I was like, well, maybe you're not supposed to be inside here.
And you figure out pretty quickly that these are the two ladies you're supposed to eavesdrop on. What the game wants you to do is to go and stand within like a 2-foot window outside of the building and listen through the cracks in the wood. However, it's not intuitive. You have to...
See, my mentality of stuff like that is literally back in the old day of Zelda with crack in wall. You're like, why is there a crack in the wall? There's got to be something there. So then you start hitting things. You start moving things. You're like, oh, I can move that. And then all of a sudden it opens up and you're like, like that's the way my brain works.
Break some stuff to get access to that spot at the wall and all of the...
See, many of you have grown up with Bethesda games of Skyrim and Fallout, and it's like, grab mission here, go get here. And you're just running around and you're just smashing the X button or you're smashing the A button. You don't want to listen to dialogue. You don't want to see where the thing is. You just want to grab the thing, run to the location, grab the thing, go back to the other location. You're like, oh man, this game sucks. It's like, bro, like, why play a game if you don't want to play the game?
The previous instances of you eavesdropping, of which there are, I believe, 2 in the entire game up to that point, you are standing in a clear line of sight with the target. So you don't think that you can listen through walls until you just happen to stumble outside in frustration and press the button and it works. There's many instances like that where you're like, is this bugged or is this a feature? Like, am I doing something wrong or is it bugged? And you don't really...
Well, obviously, if you have to eavesdrop on somebody, right? If you have to eavesdrop on someone, I can't stand in front of you and be like, oh, don't mind me. Don't mind me. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna do my own thing over here. Like, what are we doing?
No, because the bugs are so prevalent. It's really frustrating. And it's one of those instances where I think when the game fully launches, it won't be that big of a deal, because some people might get frustrated and be like, I'm just going to look it up. They look it up and see, oh, I'm supposed to stand there. Oh, okay. And then it's not a problem. For me, I spent like 20 minutes walking around this stupid building trying to find where I was supposed to stand to trigger the LB button press to progress through the quest. It was really annoying. In that same vein, there's also countless other systems that are introduced and then forgotten for hours upon hours upon hours, sometimes even dozens upon dozens of hours until you see them again. Whether you look at something like the eavesdrop system, which you use very, very rarely, or all of the countless systems built up around the settlement system. As you saw in some of the trailers, there is a settlement system where you can assign free swords to do things for local dignitaries or for faction leaders in certain areas of the map. You can basically tell 2 of your guys to go help build defense. You two go and defend the castle. You two go and deliver the grain or help them harvest this or that. And it gives you...
Is there a reason to do that?
Currency to upgrade your base, and it's something clearly for the end game. But there were new...
But what is it for? If I don't have to... For instance, if someone doesn't want to chop down a tree, can they chop down the trees for me? And if that's the case, then chopping trees down is not really a problem for me anymore, is it?
Numerous times where I would engage with one system for that settlement and then never touch it again for like 30 hours. So by the time I see it again, it's like I've played an entire AAA game in the space of time between when I used that system last. And that leads to situations where you're probably going to forget how certain things worked or how you're supposed to engage with certain things. It's an artifact of the game being freaking massive and having so much going on, but...
Yeah, but Jax, they've already said that way ahead of time that this game's not story-based.
It did happen many times where I'd be like, oh yeah, that was a thing. I could grab things and put them in this weird pot. I forgot about that. That was 40 hours of gameplay ago. And that will happen many, many times because the game is just so massive and there's so much going on. I think this will also lead to situations in puzzles where people will forget that they have access to certain things that the puzzle may require of them. They may forget that you can tap RB and triangle to do a stab attack.
I feel like a lot of people like don't even know how to make a peanut butter sandwich if they're not told how to make a peanut butter sandwich. Like if I put bread, peanut butter, and a knife in front of you, people would be confused. They'd be like, how do I open the bag? There's no one telling me you got to open the bag. Separate the bread. What?
Which is actually how you engage with certain rotatable pillars for puzzles. Basically, there will be moments where like you have a pillar and you need to stab it with your sword, and then it opens up the ability to rotate it. But if you don't happen to use that in combat, you may not realize that you can.
Not only would they use a spoon, Sarge, they would use the wrong side of the spoon. They would use the concave side, so when they put the peanut butter in, they can't get it on the bread.
Do that. And so you'll get to this puzzle and be like, how do I turn it? I don't know. And you'll just get frustrated. There's many things like that. In addition, there are many times where you'll go through streaks of quests, which are fantastic, really high effort, executed wonderfully. They have boss fights at the end.
Well, first of all, let's go down this rabbit hole. Okay, Just Enough says, if you don't do jelly first, you're a psycho. No. You got to put the peanut butter first and then put the jelly on top. You put the peanut butter on the bread so the jelly doesn't soak through the actual thing. So when you're eating the sandwich, the jelly's not coming through. What are we talking about? What are we even talking about?
And they rival anything you see in other AAA open world games. But then you'll reach a quest that is so bafflingly terrible, it'll make you wonder if anybody playtested it at all within the studio at any point in development. Again, I'll point to that eavesdropping quest because I think it's a good example, and then I don't have to show you more than one quest. But that's one that is like bafflingly bad. Like I said, you have to eavesdrop on different targets to gain info about a local leader of a gang, and that gets you access to their underground bunker to progress the story. You talk to one individual guard that's outside of the bunker, and he's the one that decides whether or not you're allowed to go and speak to their boss. He basically has a key that opens a door.
These things could be frustrating, right? Things like this could be frustrating where you're trying to talk to somebody and then it's just not interacting, and you don't know if it's a glitch or if that's the guy. That could be very frustrating.
And the only way you can get the key is by convincing him you are to be trusted by gaining information from those eavesdropping targets. However, like speaking with him is so bafflingly stupid. It's amazing. Like serious, I have no idea if anybody at the studio tested it at all. It's shocking. Like it's unreal. You talk to him and he'll have a series of lines of dialogue. I won't get too specific for spoilers potential, but then you have the option and it prompts you, tell the truth or lie. About what? Tell the truth about what? Or lie about what? I don't know.
That's right. It is called peanut butter and jelly. Right? It's true.
Press the button. It doesn't tell you what Cliff said. It just goes, if you tell truth, he's like, okay, well.
I love how the chat, Kinger's putting it on fucking tortilla rolls for burritos. Someone else is saying, I use fluff. I didn't know this was going to be a whole thing.
Stay out of trouble. And then the dialogue ends and you're like, what? Okay. And if you lie, you can select lying with information you gathered while eavesdropping. So I guess you're lying by pretending that you know that stuff, I guess is what it's supposed to be. But at one point you'll tell
someone comes in this stream, they're like, what did you learn about Crimson Desert? I learned that you could put jelly and peanut butter on a tortilla with some fluff.
him a lie. And then he'll be like, okay, well, I still don't know if I can trust you. I'm not joking. He says, I need to get approval for this. Wait here, which I feel like in English indicates that he's going to leave. Wait here. I'm going to go see if I can get you approval to go meet the boss.
Yeah, I don't even know why you guys are using bread. That's extra calories. You just eat the peanut butter and then just spoon the jelly, right?
Doesn't leave. There's no state
Fucking
where
animals.
he leaves. He stays there. I think at one point in the quest, design or in development, he was supposed to leave and go check with the boss and then come back and give you the thumbs up. But it doesn't happen now. I reloaded this multiple times and he just never leaves. It actually spawns an additional objective elsewhere in the village where you need to go and eavesdrop on those two ladies in the shed. That gives you the name of the gang boss so that you can come back and get approval to go down into the underground hideout. But if you listened to the NPC guard, you would think he's gonna go and do something. So you would think it's bugged, and maybe it is, but this is the problem with.
Yeah, so what he's saying right now, you don't know if it's bugged. So there's stuff like that here's where it comes in, where the logo above the head is like, this is the guy you have to talk to, right? And you're like, okay, you go up to him and you're like, he's glitched because we can't talk to him. But you don't know that's the guy you need to talk to, and he's not talking. You're like, am I doing something wrong? Is there something else that I need to do?
Like questing bugs is that when they happen randomly, you don't know if you're encountering a bug or if something's working the way it's supposed to, and it's just bad. In this case, it's just bad. it's not bugged, it's just bad. And so
Right.
there's going to be times where people run into this and like, what is going on? What am I supposed to do? And it's just unintuitive. But that's what's really bizarre about Crimson Desert is you'll go from one quest that's phenomenally well executed, that has motion captured characters, voice acted scenes, explaining everything, and it's executed very, very well. And then you'll run into something like this, which would be unacceptably bad even in a mobile game. And to be fair, these moments are not that common. I can think of probably like 3 or 4 off the top of my head throughout the first 60 hours of gameplay, but that's still a lot. You know, it's still more than you would hope for. In addition, the inventory system is incredibly difficult to navigate with a flood of items in the early game that you don't actually need and that you can throw away. For example, when you pick up bounty notices, it keeps those in your inventory for some reason and they take up a slot. Or in a quest.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. So every time I pick, can you imagine in other games where you pick up the things and when you read them, they take up space and they don't like stack, they each take up a space. Oh, that's awful.
If you get handed a piece of paper or a poster or something, you just have to open it in your inventory, hold down left bumper to read it and to learn what it says, and then you can get rid of it. You can discard it and throw it away.
Then they should do that automatically. They should do that automatically. If I read it and learn it, just remove it from my inventory. That's a patch they can put in.
The game never tells you that though. So players who just start the game from scratch will have an inventory filled with junk they can throw away and not realize it. In addition,
right, because then you don't know if you need it or not. You're like, is that important? Do I turn that into somebody?
At launch, there's apparently no clear storage solution for players.
Yeah, there is cooking in this game.
For them to like store excess goods or crafting materials that they want to use for their camp or settlement, or crafting materials for like armor and weapons. It's my understanding that they will be adding a
Right, I go now. And then just stands there.
storage locker or something.
You're like, are you going to go? Is he going to go? Is it broke? What's happening?
For the player at some point after launch. It's just not going to be here at launch. But they did respond to the feedback from reviewers. We told them like, is there really no storage chest for us? Is there like
no storage chest? The hell is happening? How can you make a game so goddamn gorgeous and big? You got mechs and dragons and floating islands, and you can cook and you can ride horses. There's there's like day-night cycles, storms, all of this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you want storage? Oh, we didn't do that. What? What are we talking about?
no way to store things outside of my personal inventory?" And they're like, nope, working on it. So that's
What?
coming after launch at some point, but that apparently is something they're working on. But I do want to give them credit for this. And you're hearing a lot of talk about bugs, about weird things like storage that they're working on fixing. I want to give credit where it's due. This team works in a way I don't understand, okay? I'm going to tell you a very quick story, and I wrote down exactly what happened. I was playing the game. There was a point during the review process where they issued a patch to fix some stuff, and it did fix a lot of bugs and things that...
Right, no place to put your shit. Then we have Dustin. No matter what we say in this channel, Dustin comes in and always agrees the opposite. I don't mind there's no storage. Okay.
I did experience, and they patched it and fixed it, so I cut them out of the review because it's no longer a problem. But that patch landed at like 9 a.m., and I tried booting the game around 10 a.m. Couldn't get it to launch though. So at 10:24 a.m., I sent a message to their private technical support Discord group. That message just said, hey, I can't boot the game after this update. I just can't get in. Help. Help, please. And I didn't hear anything. They said, okay, working on it, about 15 minutes later. At 10:58, my initial message about this not working for me was at 10:24 a.m. At 10:58, 34 minutes later, I got a message just simply saying, try it booting again. And it was fixed. They had a new update that sent out through Steam that fixed my specific problem within 34 minutes. I don't know how that happens. Bear in mind, they're in Korea on the other side of the planet, and they were able to fix my specific problem within...
Kingard says, yeah, having to choose which of my earned items to permanently discard just to be able to move faster and walk is super cool and fun. Yeah, 100%. Who needs storage?
34 minutes. That's crazy. Meanwhile, BGS breaks VATs and it takes them 19 months to patch it. Like, I don't understand how they're capable of doing that, but that's the level of reactivity that this dev team has for this game. Within 34 minutes, they fixed a game from not being able to boot to, oh, it's fixed now. Like, it's actually wild.
It's good.
And very, very impressive.
So what you're saying is day one patch.
Other things that they've done just during the review process is they took the starting inventory size from 20 spaces to 50 based on reviewer feedback. We said, like, is there really no storage access and ability for us to put things in a chest?
That's mind-boggling. That is mind-boggling that there is no storage container.
Yes, they said, okay, we're going to work on it. It's probably coming after launch day, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You can mine, chop down trees, get stones. Like, you can do all of these things like it's a survival game, but there's no storage to put stuff in. But you need those things to upgrade your gear.
If it's the day after launch, like with how quickly they're able to move. Other things like, improving the inventory size, just period. That's something they did. They added all sorts of new things at shop vendors where you can buy small bags to expand your inventory for like 50 bronze pieces. They're actively reacting and responding to.
Okay. So as long as they're giving you more ways to earn storage to build up your storage, then you don't need an actual storage container as long as you're still giving me storage spaces to put stuff in.
Feedback from players, collecting our bug reports and fixing things in real time. I wouldn't be surprised if 95% of these problems are fixed even in the first week of the game's launch. And again, it just takes me back to the feeling that this game is just like this game and this studio, they're just different, man. They're just different. It doesn't really fit into a clear mold of other things. It's just different. But
Jason says they'll sell storage for $20.
I like it. I'm down for this. But to wrap all of this up, I really, really love Crimson Desert. It's not perfect, and I'm sure it's going to only get better after launch and as they continue to improve it, patch it, and polish it up. But as of right now, the game that we have is still truly, truly remarkable and makes me feel like a kid again in a really cool and nostalgic way.
That is, you can hear it in his voice that when he's talking that he likes the game, and him saying that it makes him think he's a kid again.
It's just really hard to put into words. It makes you feel like the world's your oyster and like there's endless possibilities. But just like being a kid, there's moments of frustration and confusion when you're not sure what you're supposed to do and you're just...
Yeah, but the spots of frustration is part of life, is part of gaming, is part of, like, you try to figure out. You just use your brain. Just settle down for a second. Don't go to YouTube. And obviously there's always YouTube, right? Like, if you don't know what to do, you can type it in and be like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they'll be like, oh, this person has a video tutorial how to do it. But just try to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out yourself. A great example is that for a long time, I thought the game was bugged and there was an issue where you would be riding your horse, and it often happened during battles and high intensity sequences where your horse would just stop running. You just couldn't sprint with your horse anymore. You couldn't jump. None of the face buttons would work on your horse anymore. I was like, it must be a bug. It must be a bug. Well, turns out after I submitted a support ticket for it, it's not a bug. It's literally a feature. When your horse is injured, it can't sprint.
Did it say that your horse, did the horse physically show that it was under distress? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking, right? Was there signs that your horse was injured?
So you have to hop off, either feed it, take it to a stable where they can heal it, or you can use a spirit ability to do force touch healing, where you like focus in, hold down right stick, and then press left stick, and it'll heal your horse, and then they're capable of sprinting. There's things like that where I'm like, okay, now that I know that, I realize it's not a bug. It's literally a feature. But there's lots of things like that where you're going to be like, is this working the way it's supposed to? Or am I forgetting a system that the game has? Some people love that. I love it because when you figure it out, you feel like $1,000,000. But some people, I'm sure, are going to be super frustrated.
Right, there'll be someone there 5 seconds later, pull the lever on the left. You're like, what? Oh, lever on the left. I don't know how to do this. Did you try the force push? It's like, shut up. They already do that. Sony does that with their games.
And they absolutely hate it. But at the end of the day, I think Crimson Desert does a lot more really, really well than it does poorly. And a lot of the things that it does poorly, it's actively improving in real time. Like, I'm not even joking. Since I started filming this video, I got a message that one of the other things I was going to mention in this video as a problem has been fixed. So I guess I don't have to bring it up.
At least the developers are fast on fixing stuff.
Like, it's crazy, but that's just how they do it, man. They're just different. Now, like I said, Crimson Desert is absolutely gigantic. This is a work in progress review, and it's possible that the game takes an absolute nosedive in the last act, or when I get to one of the late game areas. That's very, very possible. I wouldn't put it past any game disappointing me or shocking me. But based on my experience with it at this point, I'm thoroughly impressed, and I cannot wait to play more, and I fully intend to. But if I had to offer a little piece of advice to all of you who are interested in playing this and are going to be playing it tomorrow after this video goes up on March 19th on launch day, I would encourage you, don't be afraid to talk to your friends about systems. If you get stuck on something, reach out to a member of the community and see if they've figured it out. That's really something, like, they've built this game with that in mind, with the idea that
or get good.
You're going to be able to talk to your buddy and be like, hey, did you see the legendary bear mount is up on this mountaintop? Go there, check this out. You can find this. Oh, dude, that's awesome. I found that there's actually a legendary horse mount over here that has crazy levels of stamina. That is, I think, what they've designed this game with that in mind, I think that's what they want players to do. They want them to engage with each other. They want the community to help discover things and share info. And that is where I think it's truly going to excel. Don't play it in a vacuum if you don't want to. Be willing to talk to other people and engage with the community, because I think that will make your experience significantly better than if you try.
Yeah, but Colossal, like, to say that you don't want to play as Cliff, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, not everybody wants to play as Cliff. Okay, well, you have to get to the certain point where you don't have to play as him anymore. But at the same time, like, that's like saying people don't want to play, you know, Gerald in The Witcher. It's like, but that's the character. It's not a custom character. Now, I do agree that it would be nice if you could customize your character and make your own specific character, but it's not technically an RPG, right?
To just go in and play this game blind, because it seems like it's been built with that MMO mentality of the community working together to make progress more on a meta level. And if you do that, I think you'll have more fun. I, for one, cannot wait to see what some of the community discovers when it comes to secrets or hidden bosses or hidden crafting materials or swords and weapons that I didn't even know existed. There's going to be a lot of that, I'm sure. And I can't wait to find out about it right next to you guys, because again, the game is so freaking massive. I have no doubt there's a bunch of stuff I still haven't seen. But TLDW, Crimson Desert, I'm a fan. It's not going to be for everybody. Some people will hate it, just like I said in my preview.
Not every game is not meant for everybody.
But for me, I'm a big fan, and I cannot wait to keep playing more. I recommend you check it out if you have a higher tolerance for some of the jank that comes with big open world games, buggy quests, and things like that. If you are sensitive to that stuff, just wait a couple of weeks, and I have no doubt they will have fixed a lot of it. As for console,
which I always recommend, right? If you're on the fence, we're going to watch other videos here. If you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know if this is for me, don't buy it. There's no issue if you don't pre-order or buy day one or week one. Wait, right? Just like he's saying, the little jank that's happening with that, and they're updating it and they're fixing it, right? In 2 weeks' time, they could have 2 patches and then the game's actually fixed. Or maybe they'll have storage. So by the time you're playing, instead of having this frustration of keeping dropping stuff, you can play a month from now. And then the game has storage, and then it's a better game than it was before, right? So don't feel pressured because everyone is playing the game and everyone is having a good time. You're like, I don't know if I should buy it, and then not enjoy yourself. Like, just wait. Watch live streams of people actually playing the game to see if you will like it, right? So that's Luke Stevens' video. Next up, we have Kuras Gaming. I think I'm saying that wrong, but everyone's videos link is in the description down below. So here's video number 2.
If you find 6 different items, all with different effects, you can take those powers out, slap them on a single weapon, and stack all of them all at the same time. I spent over 100 hours in Crimson Desert, finished the main story.
All right, so let me know if he's talking too fast for you, because I have it at 1.25 for him as well. Just because it's 30 minutes long and we're trying to get through it, and I pause and whatnot. He's played for 100 hours. Luke played for 60, so he's got 40 more hours than Luke.
And this is what I gotta show for it. Barely half of all the bosses defeated, an inventory filled with unique loot, but hey, at this rate, at least my camp is well on its way to get listed on...
It's Kuras Gaming, right? Kuras? That's how you pronounce it?
The NASDAQ with how much it earns every single day. So get ready, because this is going to be a long one. I'm going to try my best to cover everything.
Dragon that breathes fire. I'm in.
Things where I think the game could really improve. But if I were to describe Crimson Desert briefly, it would be relentless bosses, deep systems, and quite simply overwhelming. And the first thing I realized the more I played is that there's a lot of depth to many systems you interact with. Crimson Desert is what happens when you give Zelda a Pearl Abyss makeover. For combat alone, Cliff starts simple. A pair of weapons, a shield, you can dual wield, and dual hand swords, axes, long swords, you know the drill.
I never see him use his shield. In all of these footages we've seen of him, I've never seen him have his shield off his back.
But he can also play as a ranger, and it's not just viable. I was shocked how strong it was about 40 hours in when I gave it a test with a level 1 bow compared to even my melee build I had up until then, although it needs a bit more to become truly self-sufficient. Even barehanded combat is more than just viable and will work with the majority of the boss fights. There are some niche
barehanded combat? Is that what he just said?
Cases during which you may have to use a bow, for example, but those are far and few in between, and generally you can just leave and then come back to them later. That's because of a really top-tier progression system that makes every single new upgrade matter. A lot of weapons drop with unique special effects, sometimes even providing completely new abilities. Well, guess what? You can then extract and transfer those abilities to any other weapon since they are tied to the Abyss.
Wait, I missed that. What did he say there?
A lot of weapons drop with unique special effects, sometimes even providing completely new abilities. Well, guess what? You can then extract and transfer those abilities to any other weapon.
That's cool. I didn't know that was cool. So if you find something in the world, you find this shitty sword, but it has a cool perk on it, you can extract that power off of that and put it on one of the weapons that you like to use. That's cool.
Since they are tied to the Abyss core system. So just to show you an example, I got 5 or 6 different weapons, each doing something different. One was calling a swarm of auto-tracking crows, another
Dude, he's showing stuff that I've never seen before.
was launching shockwaves, the rest were like each dealing fire, ice, or other types of elemental attacks. Well, I could just extract all of those powers and then place them into one singular weapon, or in my case, 2, since I prefer dual wielding. And now all of those 5 or 6 effects trigger at the same time with just my basic melee attacks.
That's cool. So there's a huge amount of different play styles and also like playthroughs, right? So the next time you play through the game, you're like, oh, I want to do this kind of build, come back and do it. Notice what day he's on. I think the highest we saw for Luke was like day 20. He's at day 102.
And there are many more examples like these. Once you get your elemental implements, it becomes even crazier because now you can empower your attacks, such as the forward slash, to deal something like extra fire damage. Guess what? That can evolve too. Getting an Abyss core like this here can empower it to have an extra volcanic eruption on top of its original effect. And this is all before factoring in the whole skill tree system, which provides a meaningful and noticeable set of useful upgrades every step of the way. I quite literally played almost the whole game simply as a dual wielder because I just enjoyed that playstyle, and I still felt like I had a lot of fun with it at the 80 and 100 hour mark because there were simply so many more things to find out into the open world to fiddle with my build, despite originally having started as a longsword player. Now, the depth of the game is also matched in its mechanical systems. While the parallels to Zelda are most obvious during open-world exploration, they truly shine during puzzle solving. Another example I have here is that I spent far too long overthinking one puzzle before realizing I didn't need a key for this, I just needed physics. So I accidentally discovered that I could jam my swords into...
I wish he didn't just show that. But he did.
The mechanism itself using the same stab ability I used countless times in combat, and it worked, putting all of the pieces back into place. Unlike most games which treat puzzles as isolated minigames with one-off mechanics, Crimson Desert relies on your existing
He's showing the puzzle basically of what Luke didn't do.
And because the solution is rooted in the game's core mechanics, the puzzles feel like an organic extension of the world itself rather than a disjointed distraction. And there's nothing quite like going through a frozen hellscape just to have snow pile up on your clothing, progressively slowing you down and decreasing your temperature unless you shake it off physically or get an appropriate winter attire. Otherwise, risk turning ice solid. These are just some of the examples I've seen with many more mechanics that...
See, I'm sold already, and I haven't pre-ordered it. I'm not getting it day one as of right now because I want to see the optimization on the actual console if someone plays it on the Xbox. But I'm sold at this game just because of the puzzles. I love exploring open world games and just figuring out stuff.
will literally make you scratch your head, but are definitely fun to engage with. Which brings me to the next point, boss fights and difficulty. You're likely going to hear this quite a bit about the game, that the bosses are simply too overtuned and way too difficult, to which I kindly disagree, at least in part, as long as you make use of the tools provided. Sure, I would say mid-game bosses feel a lot more difficult than they...
No, as I know, Pone, a lot of the puzzles are meant for, they unlock things. So if you don't do the puzzles, you won't find certain weapons or certain powers, or you won't find save points or waypoints. You know what I mean? So people that go out and do the puzzles, they reward you with different things. So someone that does the puzzles is going to have more power than the person that doesn't do the puzzles.
Really are, because a lot of them all of a sudden seem like their speed was cranked to 1000 while bombarding you with endless attacks, but that is because the early game made you complacent. So there are ways to deal with this. Simply carrying food and revive pills isn't just possible, there's also no limit on the usage during combat. So you can find them all over, even early recipes to craft them, and if you want to resurrect 100 times in combat, that is definitely possible.
Well, that's cool.
So keeping revive pills for boss fights is definitely the way to go. Besides this, sword and shield were especially efficient during moments.
That's nice, so you don't have to like go back to the house and then ride your ass across the map to get back to the boss fight. You can just revive yourself.
Moments of onslaught, as shields mitigate a lot of damage and give you better control. Finally, getting the perfect dodge and parry window game up is a lot more forgiving than in something like Dark Souls, for example. Even with a delayed reaction, I felt it didn't take too many tries to learn most of the boss's attack patterns and react accordingly. And keep in mind, if you restart the whole fight, you get back all of the items you consumed during it, essentially reverting you back to everything you had before the fight itself. There is, however, one aspect about bosses I'd say is indeed overtuned, and that is how many of them rely on dodges and immunity windows. Sometimes they are back-to-back spamming phase shift mechanics or ultimates, which indeed felt intentional, but again, I felt this was the case mostly with the mid to early late game bosses. Actually, the full late game bosses at the end of the story felt a lot easier because by that point I had prepared a lot better and my gear upgrades were way stronger. So obviously there's a curve over here. And also on the difficulty scaling, it actually felt more linear than I thought. It goes from easy in Hernand and then ramps up as you go from region to region. To the point...
Well, yeah, I mean, that seems like what would happen in any game like this. You start off, and as you move to different regions... Like, if you want to run across the entire map and go fight people over there, cool. You're going to be way underpowered.
That if you spend like dozens of hours over preparing in the later regions and then come back to the earlier ones, you're going to feel significantly stronger than what's already there. Also, focusing on weak points and paying attention to boss mechanics I found to really help a lot with making the fights a lot less difficult than they really are. Now, on top of this, we also got to talk about the Grey Main Camp.
He said that they're less difficult than they really are.
So focusing on weak points and paying attention to boss mechanics I found to really help a lot with making the fights a lot less difficult than they really are. Now, on top of this, we also got to talk about the Grey Main Camp. I really thought this would end up being a gimmick and just something I one-off interact with and then forget about, but actually no. Not only is it an important part of your progression, feeding into it, but it feels like it's organically part of the world itself. One detail here I really appreciated is that whenever you send Grey Mains into battle, they will physically go there and attack it in real time.
That's cool.
In fact, if you're attempting to liberate a castle or region, it is highly encouraged to take like...
So I'm assuming the people over here, like he's got an axe, so he's good at axe and farming and fishing, and you would send these people out.
10 of your strongest men to invade alongside you, as it's going to take significantly less to...
That's cool. So you could send NPCs to a village to fight the overwhelming Okay, this makes sense now. Okay, so if I'm playing by myself and I go into a village and you see all these people fighting you, you're overwhelmed. You might be underpowered and you're overwhelmed. But if you build up your camp and you have warriors and stuff, then you can send them to that village. They get there, they fight the other guys so you can focus in on, you know, one or two guys so you're not overwhelmed. That way, if your gear's underpowered, you can still clear the area.
We captured that zone. And there's also nothing like the feeling of fighting alongside your comrades.
Did he just do a Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Also, you can send them into... And there's also nothing like the feeling of fighting alongside your comrades. Also, you can send them into other types of expeditions. For example, you can send them into rebuilding towns and rebuilding other statues or structures, and they will do that in real time, albeit not quite as detailed as Red Dead Redemption 2, for example. But I still appreciate the effort from Pearl Abyss. So as you build the camp up and bring up more Grey Mains in, you also get access to more features that you physically see and interact with in real time. For example, vendors here sell way more resources than the ones in your typical town, and later on you get to set up...
That's great that they actually do something in this game where there's a purpose for it, right? You're like, why am I having this village? Why am I upgrading stuff? What is the point? The vendors in your village do better than the ones in the town, but the ones in the town also give different stuff.
Farms and raise or even manage livestock, so it pays to upgrade the camp over time. As you gather more Grey Mains via that...
And if you're a person that doesn't want to do the town, like your village, then you can also just go to town and buy the stuff there.
Missions, you're going to notice that your manpower now allows you to do a whole bunch of other projects. So besides rebuilding and fighting, they can also, for example, take part into gathering resources, working the fields, all the way to unlocking unique new mechanics or even missions. For example, repairing a hot air balloon shop early on gave me access to that specific mount, which helped a ton with some of the early on...
See, that's cool. So someone that didn't repair that doesn't have the hot air balloon. I didn't even know there was a hot air fucking balloon in the game. And so you have another hot air balloon to get around.
Before even getting access to a dragon. All of these are highly important because, of course, every single expedition consumes resources from money to food.
And then when you have something like that, then you go up high, you can see, oh, point of interest, and then you make your way over there.
The minerals all the way to armor, which you will need to gather from those missions by sending more gray mains in. Overall, the camp feature ended up being a pleasant surprise with a lot of deep and useful systems. Now, I also know that performance is a big topic, especially since Pearl Abyss is not really showing too much PS5 footage, and unfortunately, I cannot show either. The version I played is obviously on the PC. However, I can give you a small detail. Just turning off the light setting from max all the way to just cinematic pretty much gave me 40 FPS. So from 120, it dropped to 80 if I were to switch from cinematic to max, but at no perceivable extra difference. Like, I'm literally not seeing a difference over here, or if there is one, it's pretty much minimal at best. It will not affect your day-to-day experience whatsoever, but the increase in FPS is huge. However, I'm afraid I can't really provide more help on that part. It's not like I can sit here and tell you, yeah, the game ran really well on my system. Since I'm running a 4090 and 64 gigs of RAM, that's not going to be everybody's.
See, I don't care about stuff like this. Like, cool. Like the puddle here with the reflections and stuff. Yeah, it looks awesome. But I'll be honest, I don't give a shit.
Experience. If you're looking for the base console performance, at least your wait will be a little bit less, because by the time this video comes out, PS5 footage should also be out. I will, however, say that if a company is confident in a specific environment performance, they are more than eager to show it out as soon as possible. That's all I'm going to say about it. But outside of this, if I were to make any direct comparisons, the game definitely ran way better than games like, for example, Black Myth Wukong at significant.
Look at the detail. The amount of detail that's on this thing. I don't care if you're playing it on the console or PC. This is going to be an experience to play if you're playing this game.
Significantly higher FPS, and also the quality, as you can.
There's 1,000 things. Like, just from this picture alone, I'm like, oh, I want to go to that town. I want to go to this circus. I want to see what this vineyard is over here. What is this in the background over here? Like, I want to go to all these places.
Can see is really good for an open world game of this size with so many NPCs and things.
Oh, Pone says, giving me Spider-Man puddle PTSD. Yeah.
Happening at the same time, it ran better than a lot of games that came out in the past few years. I can't say the experience was fully bug-free, however, there was an internal patch that fixed a lot of my issues, and then eventually you're going to get a day one patch as well with even more fixes. One bug still lingering was pretty much progression hindering for a side quest. Luckily, that side quest didn't really matter, but the objective would not progress no matter what I did.
I get a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 vibes from this game. Now, obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a very, very long story. The story is fantastic in that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Possibly some enemy falling below the surface or something like that, but yeah, that was basically the extent of my bugs. And then a couple of crashes with story related moments, but the developers were quick to fix those, and I no longer have those issues. Now, in a game like this, the main story is also quite important, and if I were to summarize it, I would say that the story is more akin to a Michael Bay movie than a Martin Scorsese one. Character building isn't its strongest point, but world building and action scenes are definitely top tier.
So if you like explosions...
The main story is somewhat divided between the Greymanes and their conflict with the Black Bears and the overarching abyss posing danger to the whole continent. But between the two, I definitely enjoyed the Greymane narrative a lot more. Probably because you have a deeper connection to it, as you literally have a hand in rebuilding your own faction piece by piece, individual by individual, until it becomes a force to be reckoned with. Some of the most impressive narrative moments were literally out there on the battlefield. The story really shines.
Smash that button, people, let's do this. Thumbs up emoji, 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 call me hand emoji.
Thank you very much for the $5 super chat.
Call me hand emoji, call me hand emoji.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for the $5. Hit that like button. You heard him. Thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that like button.
When it creates these massive multi-stage war zones that really hit peak immersion and high-octane action. You have two literal armies clashing in real time, but you can sabotage their supplies, destroy watchtowers, unleash cannons from afar, and lots more. It literally feels like reenacting a whole battlefield. even setting up forward camps of your own that you can then use as pit stops to resupply before pushing back some more. Story length, I would say, if it weren't for adapting to the boss difficulty, it would probably sit around 15 to 20 hour range to finish. There is a bit of a backtracking involved in some of the later stages before finishing the story, but to be honest, in the end, it all works in your benefit since it is definitely going to give you some power boosts. It's just too bad that very few characters ended up standing out. Even our own companions felt somewhat like cardboard characters, despite the story trying to give them a little bit of a limelight. Besides that, on a few occasions, the poor objective detailing and odd interactions induced a bit of a frustration
Why would you bring a gorilla inside your building?
on my part, and some of the finicky interactions didn't help either. And there were story moments when the game just rips you out of playing with one character to transfer you to the others. Now, in theory, that's fine. It's kind of like getting inspiration from GTA 5, but it just ended up feeling more jarring than anything. Like, for example, I focused on really building up my Cliff character to get some really strong powers, and all of a sudden, he's out of commission. I have to play with a different character, and I have to fight the boss.
That is weird about the other characters, the way they're excuse me, the way they're established in the game, right? I don't know when you find them in the game, right? But it's like you have this character that you've been leveling up this entire time, and then all of a sudden now you have this character. It seems odd.
Boss fight, and it's really not fun because that new character plays completely different, and obviously
Right. And you gotta
now
level
I kind
them
of have
up
to
now.
find good synergies for it as well, and it happened on a few too many occasions for me to be comfortable with.
And I think they're going to add more characters because it looks like there's 2 other spots.
For anything else, gameplay-wise, I can't fault Pearl Abyss too much for the other 2 playable characters. They definitely feel very fun to engage with. So the thing about them is that you can call them at any time. Yeah, you can summon them basically from the quick menu, and they will join you physically. And if you go into battle, they will actually contribute, even use the abilities you unlocked for them, albeit not quite with the dexterity.
Do they level up while you're using them in battle? Because that would be cool. If you can call them in, you're not playing them, but they're fighting alongside you. Do they level up their abilities?
That you can also switch to them on the fly, and if they are too far away from you, the camera does this GTA 5 style pan out, even if they are on the other side of the continent. One thing that I appreciated about character switching though is that all playable characters have an almost as deep of a progression system as that of Cliff. Maybe just the skill trees are a bit more scaled down and mostly facilitate just a couple of playstyles. But in terms of gear and weapons, it goes just as deep with many options hidden in the open world or from side missions or from bosses. Yeah, all providing, and well, most of them providing a lot of unique effect you really want to get. Some of the weapons were also interchangeable.
That's pretty cool, some of those moves that she's doing.
Like, all characters can pretty much use axes and spears at the very least, but some of them are character specific. Great swords, for example, and rapiers are purely for Damien, and in the case of Unka, he's the only one that can use the staves and probably two-handed axes, but like everything else is pretty much fair game. Also, playstyles felt quite distinct. I'm telling you, I played almost 100.
Blanky says, I think the devs made a big list of their favorite parts of all open world games and tried to incorporate all of them into this. I think with the I don't want to say it's a problem. I think what they've done, Blanky, is this was supposed to be an MMO, right? This was a prequel to Black Desert Online, and then they made it into a single player game. So there's still all those assets and that foundational level of an MMO in this. So it literally is a single player MMO.
100 hours with Cliff alone, and I barely touched the other characters, so I'm looking at another like 20 hours each just going in and doing other stuff with them. And yes, by the way, before you ask, a good chunk of the side content and especially side missions can be completed with any of the 3 playable characters, with the exceptions of the ones that require a specific character or are backstory related. Besides that, for exploration, Cliff is still the best because he's the only one with the unique powers. And on top of that, he's also most suited for the Abyss. Actually, I'm pretty sure he's the only one that can do the Abyss because of the unique mechanics that only he has access to. But pretty much everything else is fair game. Now, from the moment I dropped on the continent of Pywell, and speaking of the side content, one thing became abundantly clear: there's little to no hand-holding in Crimson Desert. Just like
everyone says this, there is no hand-holding. So if you're a person that's like, I don't like this game because it was just too hard because I didn't know where to go, don't get the game. If you're a person that needs hand-holding, I'm not making fun of you. But if you're a person that needs to know where to go, how to do it, this is where to go. This is a game not for you. Do not get this game if you are going to be hindered by because it's not telling you where to go, like a Skyrim.
prologue, you're thrown in the middle of it, and then it leaves it up to you to figure it all out. Now, there are tutorials and context provided for pretty much everything. However, it's quite minimal. Now, a lot of times this worked well because it still keeps a sense of wonder, being like 50, 60 hours in and discovering something that you never knew even existed. But other times it felt like it worked against you. So I definitely had a handful of occasions when I simply gave up on a quest just because the process got too boring or the payoff wasn't worth it for all the trouble. Probably the most egregious example I can offer is one of the missions around the Institute.
It might be the fun sandbox that people have been waiting for. You just have to actually learn the game and stop asking for hand-holding.
Sarge, thank you very much for the $10 super chat. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, if you're a person, but what I'm saying is the reason I'm showing all these reviews and people are like, should I buy this game? Should I buy this game? Multiple people now have said there is no hand-holding in this. So if someone's buying this thinking that, it can't be that bad, there is no hand-holding in this. Zero hand-holding in this. So if you're a person on the cusp and going, I don't know if I like this because I don't know if there's going to be there is no hand-holding. So you might want to just hold off. Wait for the game to come out. Maybe they'll put a patch in. Maybe they'll do something down the line that maybe will help you out. Maybe there'll be such a community that there'll be every puzzle in the game will be solved and you're like, I don't know how to do this. And then you go to YouTube and then you can figure it out.
Get to visit. This is, by the way, a side mission, so it's completely optional. It involves dialogue choices around information you gather from a handful of NPCs, but if you get even one wrong during the final check...
It says, I don't really care about the negative reviews. I'm excited that I don't really care about people's bad reviews or good reviews, right? The reason that we're going over the reviews and just showing, right? We're taking the good, we're taking the bad, and we're trying to get people that are watching this right now, if this is a game for them. A lot of people are on the cusp because they're like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Two of the daunting things in this game are how massive the map is and the no hand-holding. Those are the two daunting things that people are like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. So they're looking, they're interested. They want to know if it's for them.
Up, you have to restart the whole conversation again with no dialogue skipping. Another slight drawback is how much lack of clarity there is when it comes to progressing in one singular house or quest chain. For example, I'm still sitting at 10 out of 13 for some of the house quest lines, not knowing how to trigger the next part of the chain because there are many dependencies and interconnected quests that the game...
Boss is too hard, 2 out of 10. Not enough purple hair, 1 out of 10. Not hard, not hand-holding, 1 out of 10. Meanwhile, I'm over here like 6 p.m. Eastern, yet let's fucking go.
Doesn't make clear enough. Also, speaking of quests, here's how the quest log will look like by the time you get close to the end game. It's going to be huge, and the quality here is going to be oftentimes inconsistent. It ranges from really interesting storylines with events that really pay off to literal fetch quests. Between the two, side stories for the great houses were definitely the highlight and way more compelling and interesting than anything else, offering side narratives that usually interconnected with the main story and with some good payoffs at the end. Others, like Citizens Commissions, not so much, as they felt more like fetch quests. You can definitely see that MMO...
What is this? You got a journal, faction quest challenges. You get the gray means 20 of 34, 31 of 38, 20 of 27. Then you have, was that Hernan? Holy Christ, there's a lot of stuff. And look at that side scroll bar over here on the side. Look at all the stuff.
Still lingering.
Oh, see, this is a game right up my alley.
From BDO.
This is go complete these tasks. Yes, please.
Over here. Now, since they don't add much narratively speaking, I was thinking that like 30% of them, a good 30% of these citizens commissions could have definitely been condensed. But at the same time, I don't think they are completely useless. They do provide inventory slots and other goodies, but that kind of feels like it was just stretched to fill up that game time, which is already massive enough. I don't think Pearl Abyss even needed to do this in the first place. Again, reducing some of them would literally not cause any problems. Which also brings us to inventory management. This has probably been the most rage-inducing inventory system I've ever had to deal with in a video game. Now, I totally get the fact that they wanted to go with more realism, but it kind of ends up working against itself. That's because the game insists of keeping every little page blueprint.
Now, this is two people now. Two people talking about the inventory system, how it's ridiculous that you keep everything as far as the paper that you read and it doesn't go away. So once you learn it, obviously I think they'll fix this. If there's a piece of paper or something that I use in my inventory and read it and learn it, it should just disappear out of my inventory.
print, recipe, crafting mat, and gear all into each of its own separate item slot. Sure, you can group them up, but not all of the items can be immediately
He's got all the pages on the ground.
discarded. Like if you get a dozen letters from quest NPCs, you cannot throw them away from the inventory until those missions are completely done. You're stuck with them occupying a lot of space.
So if you're a person that wants to grab a bunch of different quests, you're going to probably run out of space early on, right? Because it's filling up the space. So if you're a person that does the mission, go do the thing, come back, get the next one.
Surely they could have been consumed and that information could have been relayed in some kind of quick menu somewhere to save some of that space. Same goes for food recipes and books. I mean, I guess you can sell them to make some money back, but they really take up inventory and don't really do anything once you learn what's inside. And did I mention there's one inventory for all characters? So you're sitting there.
Oh my God. One inventory for all the characters?
With half of your inventory filled with the items from the other two playable ones that you cannot even use on your current one. Only some of the weapons and accessories, like I said, are interchangeable. So surely, yeah, some of the...
It is mind-boggling, though. It is mind-boggling that they built this giant world. And they're like, no storage.
Others could have just held onto their own gear. Now, on the subject of survival gameplay, which includes hunting and gathering resources manually, they also felt a little bit half-baked and, again, MMO-esque, just another activity to, spend more time into and prolong that game time. And I will have to say that...
they just showed that, Argus. He just showed where he swapped from one character to the next, and it's exactly like Grand Theft Auto Switch.
Probably not even the most efficient routes of doing things. Like, yes, hunting early on can definitely help, but you're probably not even going to use a bow and arrow. It's more efficient to just slow down the time and going with regular melee attacks, wipe out the whole forest and get like hundreds of their skins.
Let me put it this way, though. The storage system, for everything that you can do in this game, I'm not going to be like, no storage system, this game's not a buy. It's just like, it's disappointing to be like, how do you do all of these things in this game? And you're like, didn't decide about doing a storage. Now, they did want to do like realistic, but it's like, if you're doing it realistic, how much shit could I carry? Like, you're trying to make it realistic, but I'm carrying 14 swords, 3 shields, a whole satchel of bread. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to make it realistic, then you might want to put a system in of weight capacity and stuff like that. That's more realistic than, oh, you just can't learn everything or you can't just hold everything. It's like, well, which one is it? Right? I can get a mech, I could fly on a dragon, I could do all these things, but storage, we're trying to make it realistic.
And meat, you can then go ahead and cook.
Oh, I know, Hit. I understand that. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a big deal. I just think it's weird that they overlooked it.
And since we're on the subject of cooking, it feels like it's a bit too overcrowded for its own good. Like, recipes include way too many ingredients from too many sources, so you end up just crafting the higher versions of the most simple meat resources and resort to buying the stronger meals outright from vendors later down the line. Like, you're not going to interact with this too much because it's a headache. Also,
right, just enough, right? You can put money in the bank and accrue interest on certain stocks, but the storage, it's like, what? What are we doing?
I really didn't enjoy the fact that the same meat recipes can be crafted with different types of meats. However, despite giving the same results, you cannot combine the same ingredients but in different quantities. So for example, if a medium meal requires 3 of any particular meat, but you have, say, 2 of tender meats and 1 fresh, the game just doesn't let you combine them into one single meal. That would have been the result anyway had you had 3 of either of them. A resource collecting...
I mean, I get it. They're trying to make it realistic for cooking and recipes and stuff like that.
Food and minerals feels a little bit better in my opinion, although again, it quickly gets replaced by just purchasing things from the vendors. This even extends to fishing to some extent. Yes, you can use a fishing rod and you're going to pretty much want to use it kind of like in Monster Hunter. So first you're going to want to let the fish kind of exhaust itself, not reel in anything just yet, just pull in the opposite direction until it's exhausted, and then you want to quickly reel it in, and that's basically the minigame. However, you can more quickly catch fish by literally jumping into water and grabbing it with your own hands. It just goes way quicker.
Hey, he just said you don't need a fishing pole. You can just jump in the water and grab the fish with your hand. I think they're going to have to fix that.
So these are just some of the problems that mired an otherwise excellent game that, to be honest, I really think is a solid 2026 Game of the Year contender. Like, for me, this has been an amazing experience despite the shortcomings. Most of the shortcomings, in fact, were because of the sheer size of the game itself. And since we're talking about the size, I even forgot that there are many mechanics I didn't even interact with because of the fact that they weren't quite as worth it as they should have been. One example, trading felt lackluster. Like, there's literally almost no reason to do trading. It feels cumbersome, and your camp generates a lot more funds anyway.
Right. So it's like, what's the point of trading? It's not worth the time that you're doing with the trading.
By the time you even get to enjoy this. So it's something that I completely forgot about, despite the fact...
Well, I understand. If you're doing the town, then you don't need to trade because your town is doing the trading. But if you're a person that doesn't want to use the town mechanism, then you trading would be the time, right? So when you have your town and you're upgrading your town, you're doing all that stuff, you personally doing the trading anymore is not worth it.
That video actually had a pretty interesting trading system where you would get your cart, get some goods, and travel between towns to make some really solid profit and some fun gameplay. You can still try it, but in my opinion, it's much, much better to steal wagons and bring them at the black market than use the legit way of trading goods with your own one. Also, the same goes with the dice system. It kind of feeds into alchemy. So dice are basically going to be a combination of catching bugs and...
See, I think the problem with this, they have a lot of systems, but you, the player, get to choose the way you want to play, which I think is really cool, right? Because someone might not want to steal and sell those carts at the black market. They might want to do it the legit way instead of being like a crook way.
Plants and then combining them in different ways, but it's all randomized and you don't really find recipes as far as I was aware for them. It's just trial and error. After trying it out for a couple of times, it just got too boring, and I'm probably going to wait for people to discover their own versions and then just copy them from online because I just can't be bothered with it. I do, however, have to give my praises for how alive the world felt as a general, but I was surprised by just how many things happen over time. Like, for example, how the circus comes into town eventually as you progress in the main story, and you can see the whole vibe, even of the starting city shifting around, which is a detail you may not notice if you don't go back there later down the line. All the way to, for example, having a full-on town rebuild and seeing more citizens move in and kind of just following their own work. Not all citizens have full 24-hour schedules. They seem to be pretty basic, and I believe that most of the vendors will be out there and about pretty much all day long, maybe with the exception of the night vendors. I know that there are some that only spawn or roam during the night, but the major ones are pretty much there all day long. And also some quests can only be triggered during certain parts of the day, and even some of the bounties can only be found at specific hours of the day, so that's another thing to keep into account. But overall, just seeing how many things like move across the map on the roads. Every time you go there, there are merchants, there are caravans, there are people there, always going to be different when you move in and out. It definitely contributes to making the world feel way more alive than it actually is. Now, there were quite a few random encounters I've noticed as well. Some of them were completely unmarked too, like for example going in and helping some citizens in distress or getting ambushed for whatever reason. Also, when you're in towns and cities, you may see pickpocketers trying to steal money from you, and they will actually persist quite a bit over there, plus much more like that. Some even led to quest lines, so I can definitely say that it contributed to making the world feeling alive.
Reason to do them.
And before I forget, I have to also praise the absolute top tier quality of all the animations and mocap, the way things interact with your character or with the environment or characters with one another. You can literally see how much love and effort has been poured into this game on pretty much every single level. It definitely rivals, and I would say even exceeds, Red Dead Redemption 2 in many such aspects. Even something as simple as interacting with a vendor and it pulling out its dagger and then just like sticking it into the table, you can see the level of quality on that side as well. And since we're on the subject of high level of detail, so much of the world is destructible, like pretty much any wooden structure.
See, and a lot of the buildings. They do so much detail in this game.
Especially around camps can be absolutely shattered to pieces, which is what I believe makes
any game with a jetpack as game of the year.
The dragon combat so freaking amazing.
I saw someone talk about they played the game for almost 200 hours and they still haven't got the jetpack.
It really feels satisfying, and it is going to work against mostly enemies. It's prohibited from summoning it around some of the major cities.
Yeah,
but
day-night's a thing in this game, Sarge.
In friendly territories and still destroy it and get a bounty on my head because of it, or at the very least a crime pop-up happened. But for the most part, it's best used against, you know, any of the blockaded territories where enemies reside. You can pretty much wipe out the whole camp in a single...
Yeah, bro, you get the dragon. This is like easy mode. You just land and just blow fire on everybody.
How strong this thing is. Even against some of these bosses here, you can see that it deals insane amounts of...
He's got the dragon. He's on day 95, so...
damage in one single breath. There is going to be a cooldown on it, but I believe you can just wait it out like 5-10 minutes and then call it again. But it's so overpowered that it really needs a little bit of balance. balancing, otherwise it just trivializes a whole section of the game. You do get it much later on, so don't worry about it too much. Of course, we can't go over all of this and not cover the Abyss, which is obviously the other part of the game itself, and it's going to be very important. The short story is that you're going to get some very special powers from here, and oftentimes there are secret treasures here too, and also many boss fights. But a lot of it is actually going to be just puzzles, so for me, I skipped the majority of the game doing any of the Abyss stuff only until the late game, and I'm really glad I did because by that point I was more relaxed, so I wanted to take a step back, and whenever I wanted a chill session, I would go into the Abyss and just do the puzzles there. It's very useful for Abyss Wars as well to pretty much have a whole range of them interconnected to one another. Like if you
So if you're a person that wants to do these puzzles early, you'll get more skills and whatnot than someone that doesn't go up there at all. So if you're a person that, again, that doesn't like puzzles, you don't have to come up here.
finish one Abyss, if you go
It might hinder you in the long run, but
behind the final structure you unlocked, you're going to notice that it connects and opens up the next Abyss, to the point that you're going to find a huge chunk of them all across the map. I also really appreciated that the Abyss has a lot of depth and personality when it comes to everything that you find in it, especially the puzzles are very distinct from one another, offer a very diverse gameplay, so through and through it was a lot more enjoyable experience than I thought. I ended up enjoying this feature a lot more than I thought initially, because in the starting hours I really found it quite dreadful, but it really grows on you, and I definitely recommend going in. There are some really big goodies waiting for you. In any case, here is my final verdict when it comes to strong points, so-and-so, and obviously the bad. In terms of strong points, insanely fun combat, top-tier progression system, very deep environmental interactions, and I really enjoyed the process of building up the Grey main camp. In terms of so-and-so, it was probably the main story, although more about the second half.
so if you're a person that wants story, not so much here.
Again, I enjoyed that Grey main part, but other playable characters could have had more story depth.
No, this is on PC. Shinobi. He was playing on a PC, not on PlayStation 5.
Plus, some of the boss fights were spamming dodges a little bit too much. In terms of the bad and things I would like to see improved, definitely the inventory management is one of the worst offenders, followed by a hard-to-organize quest tracker with minimal information about which parts of the stories connect with one another, also how you handle blueprints as a whole, and of course, progression preventing bugs, and some of the parts I got stuck in as I've explained in the performance part of the video. But that pretty much concludes this review. Thanks so much.
All right. His link is in the description down below for video number 2 there. Video number 3 we're going to be watching is Force Gaming. All right. We're watching at 1.5 speed, or sorry, 1.25 speed. All right. So Force Gaming, his link is in the description down below as well. So we watched two completely different people give us their thoughts and opinions. Both told us different things. So that's good.
My God, they've actually done it. I almost can't believe it, but it's true. Crimson Desert is actually very good. I've been playing this game obsessively for the past couple weeks, sinking a little over 80 hours as of this recording, and still I can't get enough and totally intend to continue playing for some time as I'm just having loads of fun. I will say, the game, it's definitely not going to be for everyone, I'm sure.
I love how everyone keeps saying that, right? This game is not for everyone. Every game is not for everyone. People that don't like roguelike is not for everyone. People that don't like extractions is not for everyone. People that don't like MMOs is not for everyone. All games are not for everybody. Not every game is meant for everybody.
Like, if you're looking for a deep, engaging storyline with interesting characters, dialogue, and impactful moments, this really doesn't seem to be it. Or if you want, like, intuitive, easy to understand mechanics, that's a no. And if you've come to expect your games to have many of the modern day...
Again, if you're a person that wants your handheld, this game is not for you.
Quality of life conveniences, you are also probably going to be a bit disappointed. However, if you just want a straight up open world fantasy adventure with engaging combat, extremely challenging boss fights, interesting points of interest, a highly interactive world, head scratching puzzles, loads of hidden secrets, more mechanics than you could even know what to do with, along with all the shenanigans of a sandbox game, sheep rescuing, barrel...
If you guys are new to my channel, we do this Monday through Thursday. We just cover news stories, have conversations. I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. We get your thoughts and opinions. This is a very... interactive with live chat. So if you're new here for the very first time because you're here for Crimson Desert for these reviews and stuff like that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out. We're a very small channel. We do podcasts. We do a podcast tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, right on this channel called Generation X Gaming. We cover all gaming news for the past week, and we rant along the way. I appreciate you all here.
Exploding, chimney sweeping, bandit smashing, horse disposing, waterfall cave denying. Then, damn, dude, this...
I'm sorry, did he try to get into...
Sheep rescuing, barrel exploding, chimney sweeping, bandit smashing, horse disposing, waterfall cave denying.
Oh, no. Anyone that watches me knows that we go behind every waterfall. There's a waterfall denier back there. That means I got to get into that that cave.
Then damn, dude, this game might just be for you. It's certainly been for me. Again, Crimson Desert, not without faults. There's absolutely things here beyond the story that will be a drag for many people, I suspect, including the overly complex controls and absurd quantity of systems and mechanics that are easy to forget and oftentimes hardly explained. However, for what it does deliver on, which is a lot, it's been just right for me. Like, this game...
You can hear in all... This is the third person we're watching now. You can hear... They do reviews all the time, right? They do reviews all the time. You can hear it in their voice when they like something, right? Like, you know when someone's playing a game and they like it, and they're playing a game and they're just playing the game, right? You can tell every single one of the people that we've watched so far, you can hear it in their voice. They're like, man, I just want to get back in this game and play more of this game.
Has been a pleasant surprise and delivered an incredible amount of entertainment over these past couple of weeks. Some people will bounce off and say, I don't get it. For others, though,
yeah, Clips, they sound like little kids.
I think it's going to be like an all-time favorite, memorable
They got that little upbeat in their
experience.
voice.
It's definitely been for me. This is hands down one of my favorite games of this year, if not of the past couple of years. I'm enjoying it that much. Yeah, I really like Crimson Desert. I really do. Now, I kind of hit you with a bit of a shotgun blast description in the intro there, but let me explain. At its core, this is an open world fantasy action adventure sandbox game. Now, I personally would throw RPG in here as well in the description because there are enough systems.
Yeah, they say it's not an RPG though, but all of us with a brain are like, yeah, this is like an RPG.
Line up with what we come to expect, like a gear with stat bonuses and attributes, various progression systems to work towards, a branching skill tree, character relationships that can be built, and so on. But for whatever reason, the developer has tried distancing themselves from the RPG label. I don't quite get it, but I guess they don't consider it one. So either way, though, big open world game, lots of stuff to do, and I mean a lot. I don't think I could possibly overstate just how many systems, features, and mechanics are in this game. It is absurd. It's almost been a meme coming up to the release of the game, like, oh, what systems does Crimson Desert have? Yes, it's got all of the systems. It's got all of the things from all of the games. In fact, even at the 80-hour mark, I am still regularly being introduced to brand new gameplay systems and mechanics. It just keeps on going. And I've spoke to a lot of other people who also got the game for review, and there's even way more beyond what I have seen from what they've told me. So yeah, but here's kind of a basic rundown of like the flow of the game. So you play through the intro cinematic here. You've got an overview of the main characters, the rival faction of enemies, as well as the fundamentals of movement and combat. After that, you are brought out.
Right, Sarge? Let's not get too excited. We've got to see the numbers. Bum, bum, bum.
To the open world, spawning near the game's first major capital city. Here, you're going to go around, meeting various NPCs, progressing that main story, while also being introduced to some side quests and activities to engage with. What's so interesting to me, though, is that these side activities are actually quite interesting, with many of them being rather in-depth. In fact, at 80 hours, I know I could be much further along in the main.
So the first person, Luke, had 60 hours. Kuras had over 100 hours. He's at 80 hours.
Story, but there's so much to do, see, and engage with that has been actually fun and entertaining that I've spent a majority of my time doing those things. I think this is one of the strengths of Crimson Desert being really a sandbox open world RPG. I can and have spent multiple days playing while not progressing the main story quest at all. But let me be a bit more specific about the kinds of things I'm talking about. So yeah, it's a big open world action combat game. You can go through doing the main story quest, watching some cutscenes, meeting
numbers. We don't need no stinking numbers.
Characters, taking on enemy outposts, and doing these pinnacle boss fights. And you could definitely like primarily focus on just those things. But in the process of that, you're introduced to
that guy just drill in the ground.
Like all
we saw some video footage of him where you can get his actual glove and you can help you mine. That's one of the first guys I'm going for.
All of this other stuff. So first off, we got the points of interest. The game's pretty densely packed with a variety of POIs to explore. Some of these will just be spots you can kind of root around in, collecting stuff, which I will add here. This game has like an impressive level of interactivity.
I saw a guy earlier he had 197 hours, right? I watched it, was it earlier today? Yeah, earlier this morning. 197 hours in the game. Right, and he showed his Steam like number, like 197 hours, and he had 3 achievements. 3. I was like, holy shit. Now, obviously, to get the achievements and stuff, you have to go for certain things, but it just made me laugh. I was like, the guy has 197, he's only got 3 achievements.
You can interact with pretty much every object that you see in the environment. Like if you look at a table and there's 3 mugs, a few eggs, a plate, and a piece of bread, you can individually pick up all of those items. You can pick up barrels and sacks of flour, moving them around or throwing them. You can open and close windows, climb through open windows. If you come across a weapon rack and you see multiple swords and shields and stuff, you could individually pick up every piece of gear. It's pretty much near Bethesda levels of if you see it, you can interact with it, move it, or pick it up. So yeah, some of the points of interest you'll go into, it'll just be some items and things you might want. Maybe you'll find a few valuables, a couple of recipes, or even a treasure map. Awesome. Other points of interest might be crafting related. So you're going to come across places like a ranch, a quarry, a mill, a fishing dock. And here, there will be an NPC you can engage with to learn recipes or purchase things for the professions, as well as practicing the profession. Like there's literally an area by the river where you go to dye your...
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people are having that's going to be the biggest thing, right? It's so daunting because a lot of people are parents, right? They're dads, they're moms. They don't have a lot of time. So when they have a time to play a game, they look at this and go, "Oh man, it's such a good fantasy game. I want to play this type of game. This looks really cool." And then it's daunting because they're like, "Well, that's a lot." So when you see someone putting in 100 hours, 200 hours into a video game, you're like, "Holy Christ, that's going to take me a year," right? I'm in that same kind of boat, right? We play video games Monday through Thursday, right, on our channel 30 and Still Gaming, and we just play a couple games for a couple of hours, right? I don't have the time to put in where this game will take me 6 months, right? Just like you just said, right? It'll take me like 6 months to get through, but I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay playing a game and not completing it. I don't need to complete it super fast. If it takes me 6 months, if it takes me a year to go, yeah, I finally finished the game, I'm okay with that personally.
Clothes. If you want to change your cosmetic thing, you're going there. You're not just doing it from a menu. You're physically going to the clothes dyeing location, which, as it would make sense to be, it's right by the water because you need the dyeing to be by the water. You mix it, you dye it, you drain it, you rinse it out, whatever. I'm not a clothes dyeing expert, but I believe they're by water, right? And then you've got all those things like caves, ruins, temples, and other ancient structures oftentimes built into the environment. A lot of these areas are going to have hidden secrets worthy of uncovering. In fact, much of the best gear that I've found and am using has been from solving puzzles in places like these. And then you've got all of the military-related points of interest, like the watchtowers, the camps, the forts, and the strongholds. Early on, these are going to be filled with one of the various enemy factions, and I say one because there are many of these. In fact, there is this entire Game of Thrones style faction system.
What the hell is that?
Because there are many of these. In fact, there is this entire...
This is a completely different map that we saw before.
Game of Thrones style faction system, with each faction vying for control.
Wait a minute. So there's a faction system in this game? He's the first person I heard talk about the faction system.
Of zones, and this actually applies to individual points of interest. So for example, there is a fishing dock right next to the starting city. Early on, I went there, I did some fishing for cooking up food, then I left to go do other stuff. What I didn't realize at the time was that the Bleed Bandit faction was encroaching closer and closer to town, capturing points of interest. And eventually...
Oh, this sounds cool. This one mechanic sounds cool. Like I would just go around taking out each faction.
They took over and captured that fishing dock. So literally, I would open the map and see that the dock was controlled by the bandit.
It's like Division 2 with the people taking over, and then you had to push back the factions at different control points.
It's going there. I found 30 bandits just wandering around. I had to eliminate them, thus reclaiming the point of interest for my faction and allowing me to fish peacefully, essentially. So in order to stop that from happening again, what I had to do was then go to other nearby points of interest that the bandits had control of and take them out. If not, they would have kept in.
That mechanic alone has sold me on the game.
Encroaching closer and closer to town, taking over more points of interest. Now, I'm not exactly 100% sure of the exact mechanics of the system, but what it seems like is that there are these primary locations, be it a fort or a camp, that acts as like their stronghold and they flow out from. In fact, when you click on some of these areas, you're going to see connecting lines to nearby points of interest that I presume those are the areas that they can eventually take over if they're not stopped. So yeah, just going around this game's many points of interest, exploring, fighting, solving puzzles, collecting gear. I'll spend days just doing this and not even touching the main story quest. Oh, and I want to add here as well, I don't know if I've already said this, but 80 hours, I only have about 1/4 of the map revealed.
Yeah, 80 hours, 1/4 of the map, right? Like, look at his face, like, bro, this game is huge, gigantic.
There's a lot of game here, and it's not, I've not been like diddling.
Let's be honest. When you look at games like this for the price tag that it's at $70, and then you look at another game that comes out and it's $70 and it's like an 8-hour campaign, like you can't even compare the two. They want to push $100 video games, right? And then this game comes out and it's 70, and then Grand Theft Auto is going to come out, it's going to be 70, and you're going to look at it and they want Grand Theft Auto to be 100, but the industry, you can't compare a game like this. Like these guys are blowing the narrative out of the water. Right? Imagine you play Madden football and you pay $70, $80 for that game, and you pay $70, $80 for this game.
around. I've been actively doing stuff, exploring, finding new areas. There's just so much, and the game is so big. And then you've got all sorts of different other systems and mini games, like literal mini games, these side activities that you can go engage with at any time to make a little money. These include things like gambling, engaging in fistfights, or doing an archery contest. You can also invest in the stock market. I kid you not. Visit your local bank.
This is a game that you don't play and beat. This is a game that you play and enjoy.
Set up a box, and you can literally invest and decide, do I want to do low risk, medium risk, or high risk? And
this is a Skyrim. This is a Witcher. This is a Red Dead.
Enjoy your returns over time, as long as the market doesn't completely crash. Who knows? I haven't seen it happen yet, but maybe if the bandits roll back into town, the market collapses. We'll find out. There's also an entire camp management system. This begins with you literally driving stakes, moving bags, and planting the flag on a piece of land that you get given after doing a certain quest objective. And then gradually over time, you'll find more of your Greymane clan who will join you at camp, helping you expand your facilities and going out on missions for resources, be it for getting more camp currency.
Right. So the people that want to deal with this can deal with this, and it takes stuff off their plate so they can go do other things.
More food, equipment, or logs and stones. And these activities, mind you, they are actually carried out in the world by your companions in real time. So if you send 4 people out to the nearby chicken farm in town to harvest eggs, if you go there while they're on their mission, you will actually see them working.
That's cool.
Like, you'll see them going through the chicken coop and picking up poop and stuff. Like it's actually something that they do in Black Desert as well, and I'm glad it's made it into this game because it's a really cool and helps add to the immersion and sort of just the immersion of the space. There is an entire crime system in the game, so say you attack a citizen or damage someone's property, this sends out an alert in this ringed area, and should you not leave that zone in time, or should you be spotted, a bounty then.
Yeah, see the thing that just popped up? So it says contributed. So this whoever this faction is, he's contributing to it. He's doing negative. So it leveled down from 50, from 59, whatever percentage it was. Let me see what it was before. It was 60.08.
Ringed area.
And then he threw
should you
the
not
guy.
Leave that zone in time, or should you be
Threw the
spotted,
girl,
a bounty
and it
then
went
gets
down
placed
1
on your
point.
head. However, if you want to live the life of the criminal, you can do it. As you kill various bandits, you're going to collect these masks that enable illegal activity, then letting you sneak into people's homes and steal their property if that's what you want to do. Or you can play a bounty catcher. There's going to be bounties with these little flyers placed around town. You actually physically pick up the flyers and then you inspect them, getting the bounty then added to your quest log, and then you go track them down, beat them up, pick them up, and carry them on your horseback to the nearby jail, delivering them, collecting your reward. You can be the criminal or you can be the bounty hunter, whatever you want to be. I don't know. There's a whole system of befriending animals, essentially petting and feeding any dogs and cats that you
find. We do this
Monday
through Thursday. Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. I'm like the London train, man. I'm like every day from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon to we're going to go to about 1 o'clock today, but
as far as I can tell, will fill up a meter of their kind of relationship to you. Once that meter is completely full, they can become your companion. At that point, they're going to just follow you around looting bodies. They won't pick up absolutely everything super quickly necessarily, but say you're fighting a bunch of enemies while that's happening, you're going to get items picked up rather than having to manually do it if you have a dog or cat companion with you. You can also tame many different types of animals to ride as mounts. Each one of these will come with their own.
This is why I love watching different reviewers, right? Because he's talking about a completely different system than what Kaza and then what Luke did, right? Every single person played the game completely differently, right? And I love watching different people. It's not about seeing if they're shitting on it or not. It's about learning about the different aspects. And someone that's watching this right now was like, oh, I didn't know this was in the game. This is a selling point right here, right? Someone else might look at this and go, I don't care about this at all, right? But they know about the trading system. And they're like, oh my God, there's a trading system or the faction system.
On stats and unique perks. Some of these are even combat related. So far, I have only found horses, but I do know in the game you can tame things like bears, tigers, and eventually...
You could tame a bear? We saw a bear before. I said, let's get on that bear. Sarge wants a rhino, but...
even dragons to claim and ride as your own mounts. And then the puzzles. There are so many different types and just a huge plethora of puzzles in this game for all sorts of different things. You've got platforming puzzles, especially in the Abyss, which is kind of the sky island location. There are object matching puzzles. There's finding missing pieces and putting them in place. There's moving levers to try to engage a system. There are using abilities.
Sarge says, must stop finger from hitting purchasing.
It's at key locations. There are a lot of puzzles. Expect to be spending a lot of time solving puzzles in this game, and a interesting variety. There's even those 9-piece puzzles where you move them around to try to get the image to look proper. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. It's like a painting of a watchtower, and you gotta...
I'll be honest. I hated these puzzles when I was a kid. When I was a kid, man, I hated these goddamn puzzles.
Move the pieces around. And so I actually ended up going on Google and looking up, how do I do these 9-piece puzzles where you move them around? So now I know how to do those puzzles at least. Thanks, game. Yeah, lots of puzzles in this game, and they're absolutely worth...
You gotta rotate it around to the
doing, because they're either going to give you something like a valuable resource or currency. There are these skill point artifacts, which it's what it is skill points for your skill tree. And then also a lot of good gear is hidden behind puzzles, so having to find your way in a room or past some objective. So lots of puzzles, try to complete them because it's almost always totally worth your time. So yeah, that's just kind of like, that's not even everything, but that's a kind of an overhead view of some of the notable things that I wanted to share with you about the game's open world nature, the points of interest, and the different kinds of systems and mini games and mechanics that you're going to come across. One big selling point of this game that I've absolutely loved as well is the combat. It's a fairly deep system, or I don't know if deep is necessarily the word. At the very least, it's got a load of...
We have yet to see someone use a shield, right? We've watched 2 separate streams or 2 separate reviews. No one uses a shield.
Variety. There's probably actually far more...
He's using a
options
shield
of how you can engage.
He's
in the
got the
enemy than
shield
are
in his
even
hand.
Necessary most of the time, but I really like it for that fact. I went through and counted actually, and there's over 50 different types of attacks that you can do. It's kind of hilarious. So beyond all of the individual basic attacks, you've got your sword and board or whatever weapon that you're using, because you can use a variety of weapons. It's not just sword and shield. There's a variety of 2 hands and a variety of different 1 hands that you can use. But you've got all your basic light and heavy attack combos and alternating between them. Like there's a 3 attack combo chain for light, 1 for heavy, and then you can change them. Then you can hold them both together. But then there's also all of these contextual abilities as well, where depending on the situation, what the enemy is doing, whether you're blocking, whether they adjust attacked or whatever, all these variations. And then there's an entire system of kind of like wrestling where you can clothesline, you can drop kick, you can pick up and toss people around, you can kick them, you can roundhouse.
That seems pretty cool. Like the wrestling moves and stuff.
Kick. You can actually just play like a monk brawler if you want. There's literally an option to drop your melee weapon and just fisticuffs. And then that has its own variation.
Water's going full fisticuffs
of attacks as well. So there's probably actually many over 50 types of attacks, because I didn't even actually account for that whole second additional suite of abilities that's just for the fisticuffs option. So yeah, there's a lot to the combat. It feels great. It's kind of, there's a strange thing though, where when you start out the game and you're just fighting off the hordes of bandits, you feel like a god and you're just smashing through everything. And then you get to those boss fights and they're gonna wipe you. Dude, like, they are very, very... I think the first major boss I spent over an hour on. It was such like a stark contrast to the combat that was experienced, where I was taking on 20 bandits. And
there is magic hit. The other guy said that you could take aspects from different weapons and put it on you. So if you're... I don't know how that would work. Maybe you put some gauntlets on if you're like being a... no weapons, and maybe you put the magic abilities on those, because he said that there's abilities that proc all at once when he had it on his build.
Kind of just dismantling them piecemeal. Kind of felt like the Batman Arkham games or something. But then you get to the boss fight and they are just super aggressive all over you, dealing tons of damage. It's definitely going to be, I think, potentially one of the main criticisms that people have of the game, how difficult the boss fights are. But I actually enjoyed it because it made me focus more on actually what I was doing, what abilities I was using, balancing my defenses and my positioning and all of that. So, but
look how he's destroying the inside of that building.
More on actually what I was doing, what abilities I was using, balancing my defenses and my positioning and all of that. So, but in general, I really enjoy the combat in this game. They do feel like 2 different games, the kind of general open world taking on the hordes of enemies combat and the boss fights. They play very differently in what you have to do and how you have to play. But all around, I really like fighting stuff in this game. It's fun. I'll just literally go into camps of enemies and just clear them out and pick up loot, and I could do that all day, frankly. In terms of the game's progression systems, there's a fair bit here to engage with. You're going to have a lot of...
It says too much destruction, 1 out of 10.
The different types of gear that you're going to come across, and it's got different looks and defensive stats and maybe some innate attributes, but a big part of it is you're going to have these sockets in which you place items that give you all sorts of perks. Some of these are going to include like increased damaging to various abilities, unlocking new capabilities for you, or just some flat stat buffs, like just, hey, here's some increased damage, some increased attack speed, increased crit, here's some health regeneration, things along those lines. You've also got the skill tree that has 3 branching paths, sort of broadly speaking. One path is focused on spirit, which is like your magic abilities. Then you've got the physical...
Oh, see, he's saying it right there, Hit. There is a magic ability.
Path with the end point being stamina. And then there are some more core abilities tied behind what is basically the health related path. That's the last node increases your HP. Tons of different abilities and attacks, as we mentioned, with multiple levels, that some of which can be leveled up multiple levels, that also in the process
a lot of skill trees, man.
More moves and contextual ability.
Like there's the skill tree for each section, and then when you click on the node itself, it opens up into a different skill trait
as well. Also, part of the progression is just resource gathering. Like a survival game, for example, you will go out and harvest resources, chopping down trees, harvesting ores, or picking up...
You guys know I love my survival games.
Plants, and that will be used for gear and weapon crafting, for upgrading your items, which is very important in this game, especially when it comes to taking on the boss fights. You want to make sure your weapons and your armor are... It's called the refinement system, but it's an upgrade system. You want to make sure they're refined as much as you can get them. And then a whole cooking system, which you will also most certainly be engaging with, because it is really...
What is my plan A, plan B, plan C shirt about? So on this channel, we cover news stories every single day, Monday through Thursday. So all of the stuff we have, the music that I play in the beginning, the shirt that I'm wearing, I have other shirts that I'm designing. This is about Asha Sharma, the new CEO of Xbox, okay? She had a quote where she said, "The plan's the plan until it's not the plan." So down here it says, "The plan's the plan until it's not the plan." We actually have a song about it, and we have a shirt. So the shirt is the plan, and on here it has the different plans of like the cloud gaming and then the console and stuff. So that's what the shirt's about.
Important to have a lot of food because food is your healing potion essentially, along with having some other stats and perks that they can give you. And then eventually as you're going through your playthrough, you will be introduced to the witches, and this adds another layer to progression, allowing you to add sockets to gear and then put in those attribute nodes with those various perks that we just mentioned. So there's a lot more to this game, but that's kind of like a broad overview of I think some of the key points.
Aku,
I will hit the buy button for this game.
thank you very much for the $5. Stormtrooper, I will hit the buy button for this game. Thank you.
Points that I wanted to share with you. Now let me just go through some of my likes and dislikes and or feedback.
It is a very soft shirt. I got it about 2 weeks ago. We just put it on the shop.
Back with the game. Kicking off the likes is this game's size. It's unbelievable. Early on, before playing the game, I saw estimates that it's like a 50-hour game. There's no way, dude. Like, I think maybe if you were to speed run just the main story quest, you could get it in around 40 to 50 hours, maybe. But I don't even know how that's necessarily possible because the boss fights really do act as hard cutoffs. When I hit that first main story quest boss, I had to spend some hours prepping for that fight because I just wasn't, he was doing.
See, I won't have this problem. I know I won't have this problem because the way I explore worlds and adventure, I won't even do the main story campaign because in my brain, if I do the story campaign and finish the story campaign, then I'll put the game down. My brain in games like this is I go everywhere else to do all the side quests and then I'll be overpowered. And I know I'll be overpowered because it happens every single time a game is open world like this. I go around, do all the things, get super OP, and then destroy everything, but I'm having fun.
I was dying way too quickly and I wasn't doing enough damage. So I had to go harvest resources, refine, upgrade my gear, get some new gear pieces, and then also spend some time making sure I had enough consumables to heal myself enough to survive the fight. So people saying they're getting through this game in 50 hours. Again, those were like pre-release estimates for some quotes from the devs or something. I literally don't know how it's possible. I am at 80 hours. I have not uncovered a fourth of the map. Now, I know I could be further along in the main story quest, but I'm just enjoying playing the game because there's so much game that is actually enjoyable that I haven't really cared to progress it. I'm not sure. We'll see what the speed runs look like. I mean, you know, who knows? Gamers are crazy, so you're probably going to get some Dark Souls vets out there.
This is my kid in a candy store game.
Waterbear, thank you very much for the $19.99. He says, "This is my kid in the candy store game." Like he's going to put thousands of hours into this game. Thousands
the campaign
of
in 3
hours
hours
into
or
this
something.
game.
I don't know how it's possible.
We're not going to see water for a bit.
But anyways, the game is huge and I've really adored it for that reason. It's not just for the sake of being big. I'm enjoying its bigness. You know what I mean? There's like a lot there that's
Weeks just said, "I'm already downloading and I can already tell I'll be sick tomorrow." Oh, you feeling? Hydrate. You got to hydrate. Yeah, just in case your boss is in the thing.
literally enjoyable to engage with. The whole thing is very engrossing and immersive as well. It really does feel like a great epic fantasy adventure with the exploration, the level of interaction with the world, all of the different points of interest, the things to discover. I mean, there's just literally stuff to do, find, see, and interact with everywhere. The pacing also is slow, but I do find this in a good way. Like, I'm not blitzing through the space. It's made my time in the game that much more memorable. In fact, I spent around my first 10 hours literally just kind of hovering around that starter city. There was a lot to explore, going through the city, exploring it, but then also going to nearby camps, maybe taking out some bandits, learning about new mechanics. I'd do some of that, then return back to town. I learned about the bounty system. Then I went out and hunted down a few targets, went back to town, collected my reward. Then I learned about gear upgrades and I did some of that. I went out to farm materials for the gear. That took some time. I went back, upgraded my gear. Then with that better gear, I went back to take out some bandit camps. And again, all of this is not progressing the main story quest, right? Combat is quite enjoyable. I do really enjoy it. I also got to say, I've quite...
Dude, I put 17 hours into a demo of Windrose. Okay? I went back yesterday to play the demo of Windrose because I was having fun in the game, where I was just going around chopping trees and getting stoned so I could build a bigger house in a demo. Okay? That's how good that game is. I can't wait for that game to come out. Like, I'm going to get lost in a game like this.
Grown to like the look of the game, and it runs unexpectedly well, especially for the draw distance of the game. I don't think I actually at any point had a major performance issue. There's not one that I can recall. Like, it was pretty smooth the entire playtime. There's some cool enemy design. Specifically, some of the bosses have really interesting, unique looks and corresponding kind of mechanics and abilities.
I like the fact that the boss fights that you do in this game is like Mega Man, right? And what I mean by that is once you beat the boss, you grab the power from them. You know what I mean?
that they can duel. Also, one thing I really like that this game does is it seems that every single boss has unique special weapons or gear that they will drop that's thematically tied to the boss. Like you will get a weapon that does things that the boss abilities did when you were fighting them. And I love that games do this. And it seems that from every major boss that I've fought so far, this has been the case. And I really, really like that. Also, as mentioned before, bosses are seriously difficult. They've got multiple phases. It's been 3 phases.
I don't know why people are saying it's a Souls-like type of game, Wild. I think a lot of people, when they hear hard boss fight, they just assume Souls-like. I don't know.
Every time that I fought one of the major bosses, and they pretty much get increasingly harder as you go throughout. Some of these took me well over an hour for sure. I think these will definitely be progression blockades for the main story quest for a lot of people. Like I said, requiring you to go out, power up, learn new skills, improve your gear, whatever. Something else that I love is it just feels like a proper lived-in fantasy world. The towns are teeming with people going about their business on the paths in and out of town. You're going to see them moving along, doing things in the respective surrounding farmland areas. People watch.
Yeah, so far, August, all of them are on PC. I don't think there is a Xbox or anyone that does a review for Xbox because I don't think they gave out codes, to be honest with you. This is why I'm waiting for today at 6 o'clock when people get the game and they start playing the game on Xbox or PlayStation, regular PlayStation, to watch what the footage looks like. I noticed a lot of pop-in on the PC. Now, pop-in to me is not a make and break for me, but obviously if it's happening on PC, it's going to happen on the console. So I'm just waiting because if it comes out and it's unoptimized and it's broke, I don't want it to ruin it for me. I know a lot of people are hyped for the game and whatnot. I'm waiting to see what the optimization is on the consoles itself, and maybe I'll pick it up this weekend, or maybe I wait a week or so.
With their livestock or riding trading carts or fishing in the waters or dyeing clothes at the dyeing station, whatever. It really feels like a lived-in populated space. And then you've got all the skill contests that are going around, like the archery, the bare knuckle fighting, and the arm wrestling. That's really cool too. And because I enjoy the combat, something else I really love is many of the enemy infested points of interest are like overloaded with enemies. One of the early big enemy POIs you come across is the stone quarry, and there must have been like 200 plus bandits in there. There were just so many. It took like 20 or 30 minutes to clear out. It's not like one of these, I don't know, I feel like sometimes you've got these games where you're clearing a camp, but you're in and out of there in like a minute or two. No, these are like seriously big locations with lots of enemies for you to work through, and I've really enjoyed that. Okay, so those are a bulk of the pros, what I've really liked about the game. Now let's talk about some of the bits of feedback and constructive criticism here. The controls initially were very, very awkward. Now I got used to this. I actually ended up swapping to mouse and keyboard, and just right off the rip, I enjoyed it more than the gamepad controls. Even then, there's a few kind of strange extra inputs than you might expect. So for example, if you want to interact with an NPC, it's actually several button inputs that you have to do. You have to walk up to them and you have to hold.
I think it's like 123 gigs, something like that. At least I was on that for the PC.
Down kind of the inspect button, and then that shows up a sub menu of different things you can do, which is like greet them, give them a gift, or engage with them so you can see their menu, and then you engage with them, and then there's another sub menu that pops up, and then you engage with that sub menu. So to go up and like talk to an NPC or like engage with the blacksmith or whatever, you're looking at like 4 or 5 button pushes before you get to the thing you want to do, rather than just like walking up and hitting E or something, and then you're in the menu. It's multiple. So, and that felt even more cumbersome on the gamepad. So I think awkward controls, I mean, it's something you saw a lot of in the previews, and I expect people will also bring it up on the full release. Inventory space was a nightmare initially. Now they did end up partway through the review process, like I think about 4 or 5 days ago, they released a patch where they just, at the start of the game, they give you way more inventory space. Hopefully that fixes the issue, but I think even then, you're going to want to spend a lot of your time focusing on upgrading your inventory, the main story quest line, various side activities, any quests that you get. If it gives you more backspace, it will tell you, get that stuff done, because you're going to want the
So there are missions to get more bag space, but there is no storage.
Inventory. Also, there's a way to group categories. So like all of your cooking items, normally they'll show up just like individual tiles, and it scrolls all the way down, taking up all your slots. If you group them, it gives it a subcategory. Because this is a game where you can pick up practically everything. Your inventory can very easily fill up very quickly. So categorizing them that way is very helpful. I suggest that. I'm going to do a tips video, by the way, the day after this goes live. So you can check out that with some of these bits of advice. You know, if you know me, I'm not much of a big narrative guy, but I got to say, even with that being the case, I found so much of the dialogue that takes place in this game very odd and very unnatural sounding. I don't know that I'm going to say I think it's AI dialogue. I think it's probably, if nothing else, just kind of a lost in translation sort of thing. But kind of the pacing and the delivery of a lot of the voice lines and the dialogue between characters, it's just very strange, right? It's not a huge deal, but I just want to point out, very, very strange. Now, playing on the mouse and keyboard, there's some obvious keybind shortcuts that just don't exist. So you know how most, if you're playing an open world RPG, you want to open the map, you hit M. You want to open your inventory, you hit I. That's not an option. Literally, there's not even the option to bind any of those things. You have to, again, do multiple.
See, it's so strange when you look at this game and what the size of it is. I guess they just did so much stuff. They overlooked some of the things that you would think they would do from the base.
input. You have to like hold down escape, scroll with a mouse wheel on the side menu about which sub menu category you want, and then engage with it. Or if you just tab escape, it's going to bring up the menu, and then you click on, you click on your inventory, you click on your skills. But there aren't keybinds that you would expect there to be keybinds, shortcuts to menus and systems. That just does, it's literally not in the game. Like I cannot bind, open up my map with M. There was no option in the binding settings. Another thing I want to point out is that this game kind of
Mark Goodwin in chat says you can get the game over at Green Man Gaming right now for $59.94. So there you go.
leaves a lot up for you to figure out, or rather it doesn't explain a ton of things. Now this can either be a pro or a con, but I will at least say this is very much going to be a game with a massive wiki that people are going to be actively using to learn about what stuff is.
I think there's going to be a huge community of people that, I mean, obviously YouTube's going to bang off of people helping people with puzzles and what to do here. What I don't like about that personally is that people don't play the game. They just go to look at tutorials to get through certain things because they don't have a lot of time. So like, I don't want to waste my time. So today when I get on, I'm going to do this puzzle and get through the game. I think that's the major problem.
And how stuff works.
But each their own. You guys play the game how you want to play.
Expect there to be like thousands of guide videos for various quests or unlocking pieces of gear or whatever. There's just a lot of vague or literally just not explained whatsoever in this game, and you can get stumped. Were it not for the Discord, the review Discord basically, where people are sharing bits of information and asking questions and helping each other, I would have been stuck at many different locations for way longer than I was. Now, part of that can be a lot of fun, and I try to figure stuff out as much as possible, but if I was stuck on a puzzle for an hour, I just asked people like, yo guys, what do I do? And sometimes it's the answer was very unintuitive and probably something I almost would have never figured out myself. So yeah, this is one of those games. The game has fast travel things, but you actually have to go find them manually, and I really enjoy that. But probably my biggest complaint about them is they're placed awkwardly. So even though there's a fast travel for the main starting city, but it's like right on the outside of town, and it's in a divot, so that every time you fast travel to the city, you pretty much have to get back on your horse and actually ride into town, rather than the fast travel being conveniently located in the city. Similarly, there are fast travel location for your camp when you eventually set up the Greymane camp and you got all your companions there and whatnot. That is also just far enough on the outskirts of the camp to be an annoying, you fast travel, but then you got to do another short distance travel before you get to where you're actually trying to go. So I like the fast travel system.
I wonder if they did that because your camp expands, and by the time you maybe fully expand your camp, it's closer to the actual like waypoint. You know what I mean?
In that they're kind of difficult to find locations, and some of them even require you to solve puzzles to unlock the fast travel. I just wish they were better located to the thing that you're trying to go to. Like the fast travel for the town should pretty much be in the town, not outside of town where you have to ride
Maybe if you upgrade, maybe it will be in the town at that point. Maybe, I don't know.
back into town. Same with the camp, and there's a few other examples like that. And then lastly, I'll just say, I think that, again, the boss difficulty is going to be a bit jarring for people. I expect there to be complaints online about the difficulty level of the bosses in comparison. And I got to say, a lot of it almost felt unfair, and that my best answer to defeating them was to almost ignore mechanics and just bring as much health healing as possible. And just...
I think that's I think a lot of people, because it's not hand-holding, they're going to go to a boss fight before they're ready. They're going to get gear checked or level checked, and they might get frustrated and like be like, how do I beat this? And then what he's saying is get the little balls that revive you all the time. But I think if you play the game and do all the things they introduce you to, where you can level up your weapons and stuff, yes, you want to explore, but you're going to get punched in the face when you get to a boss fight and you're like, I can't do this. And instead of getting frustrated that you can't do it, just pull back, go level up your stuff, and then come back, because that's the whole point, right? They're like, oh, here's a boss fight. This is a gear checkpoint.
Spam through taking the damage and heal myself up constantly. Like, so I don't know. We'll see how people gel with the boss fights. I enjoyed the challenge, but it was, again, it's definitely quite jarring. I will say that. All right. And I'm going to wrap up this video by saying this, while I was playing for review, initially I found myself kind of in the mindset of wanting to rush through the game and finish the main story quest as quickly as I could. But honestly, I ended up realizing I was just having so much more fun just doing whatever I wanted because of the sandbox nature and how big the game is and the thousands of systems and all of the different exploration and the puzzle solving and enjoying the combat and going through the points of interest, working with a camp and helping my comrades with their missions and all that. I just really enjoyed taking my time in this game. So I don't even care that I've not finished the main story quest, because I've played for 8 hours and I'm having a hell of a time, and I'm still looking forward to playing more. The game is so expansive that just when you think you've played it all and seen everything there is to see, you get introduced to something brand new 50, 60, 80 plus hours in. I mean, I'm still constantly being introduced to new game systems and mechanics. I didn't even start learning about the camp thing, which is a big part of the gameplay loop, until like the 20-hour mark. I was introduced to it. It was crazy. And lastly, every day, I just keep wanting to log in and play more, go further, and see what else the game had.
The second guy we watch, Kraza, he said that if you find the weak spots for the bosses, they're much easier than you think, right? But everyone else is saying they're having problems with the bosses, and that's my point. Like, each their own to difficulty level. Some people find Cuphead tutorial hard, and other people find Dark Souls easy, right? So, like, I think if you go through the game and don't rush through it, like he said, he's like, I don't want to rush through it. I started just enjoying the game. I think people won't find the boss fights as difficult, right? But again, if you like difficulty, people can go to the boss fights early and see if they can brute force it.
In fact, the worst part about putting this video together is I'm not playing the game right now. So yeah, I'm going to jump back in. I'll be playing some more Crimson Desert. I took a bit of a break from my streaming because I was playing this pretty much the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to return to it now that the game's out. I'll keep on playing, so you can catch me on stream if you want. But that's all for the review. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informative and helpful.
All right,
and yeah.
So there's 3. Force Gaming's link in the description down below as well. So there's another review. The next one we're going to watch is ACG. Let's see what he has to say. He's pretty straight shooter when it comes to the game. He just tells it how it is. He just tells you what the mechanics are in the game, and then you make your choice. All right, so if you guys like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We usually don't do this every single day, but because Crimson Desert's coming out today, and I didn't play the game, we're watching other people's reviews and giving you their version of it, of if they liked it, if they didn't like it, to give you guys more information if you're going to pick up this game or not. We usually do Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We cover news stories, have conversations. I give you my thoughts and opinions, and we get your thoughts and opinions in chat as well. It's very interactive, so if you guys like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so here we go. This is video 4, ACG.
Crimson Desert doesn't seem like, or open like,
and I am watching it at
opens like
1.25 speed, so we get through it just a little bit faster.
the anthill where the ants all have swords, the hill's on fire, and
so when you see the footage going a little faster, that's why.
Somebody in the distance is still yelling, "This is all fine," while everything you're seeing actively disagrees. That's the tone you need to understand up front, because Crimson Desert is a game that wants to feel like a living continent first, and a checklist of mechanics second, and player onboarding third, even though when you first start it, it officially looks like it's the other way around. Pywell is a complicated world, and it often runs a dangerous line between, I'm just traveling to the next village and I'm accidentally in a boss fight because I followed a weird path up a cliff. But as you guys know, I'm sort of a fan of those kind of games. At the center of all this, you play Cliff McDuff, a mercenary leader trying to put a band of mercenaries back together after a bloody fight with another mercenary unit known as the Bears. And when I say a fight, I mean they kick the living shit out of him and spread all the mercenaries 4 corners of the world. It all sounds typically mundane and in many ways almost Reagan's Dogma in a boots on the ground sort of feel. The story takes place on the divided continent of Pywell, where power is unstable and the larger conflict is fueled by a leadership vacuum, as well as abyss above you dropping fragments of power onto the ground and everybody fighting for it. Cliff, or you, is a focal point in the more grounded part, more dangerous ways. He's the person who has to make all the decisions, carry the consequences, and then keep moving when the world responds the way worlds respond, which is messily, unfairly, and with a tendency to escalate. That mercenary angle actually matters because it shapes the flavor of the narrative throughout the game. Leadership is a job, being a hero is a burden, and the world is the vehicle to get to work. Crimson Desert isn't just going to go save the realm with a new coat of paint. It's more about holding your people together while the realm tries to pull them apart. And that distinction gives the story a pretty harsh spine.
I'm the same way, John Scott. I'm going to take my time with this game and explore the whole thing when I get it.
Throughout. Cliff's leadership is a constant pressure point in the story and carries the story forward. It comes from being dragged into conflicts bigger than you and then discovering that the only way out is to become competent enough, whether it be politically, physically, emotionally, to carve a path through it. The game leans into themes of survival and resilience, and it uses the mercenary company structure to justify why you're always on the edge of some new disaster, some new job, some new faction's idea of help, and why just because you got 3 mercenaries back on your team, these are real people who may not actually want to always be there. And the balancing of their personalities feels like you consistently pulled in all sorts of directions. Speaking of directions, easy directions. Subscribe, join the Patreon if you want more discussion. Now, Pywell itself sells the story because it's not built like a theme park with zones labeled forest area and desert area, like a kid's diorama. It's designed to feel like a continent that's layered life out in regions of living. Rural areas slowly show more signs of civilization as you approach towns. Settlements feel like they exist for reasons beyond you just going in and getting a mission here or there. And stretches of wilderness don't just sit there politely waiting to be harvested for crafting materials. There's a sense of place identity baked into everywhere in the land. And the game's best narrative trick is that it doesn't always tell you the story directly. It lets you find the aftermath of one.
So there you go. What I like about his review right now, if you haven't noticed, he's blurring out all the text over here because he doesn't want to ruin it for you. You know, even though we've watched other 3 content creators, That's what I like about ACG. He tries not to ruin things for you, tries not to show you certain parts, talks about it in a very non-biased way, and just shows you what the game is, which most reviewers should do what he's doing. I love his reviews because they're just information that you want, not persuaded by what he thinks it is.
That's why stumbling into a wrecked cart on a ridge or finding a chest tucked into a crack that you only noticed because you slipped at the wrong time can feel like actual discovery instead of map cleaning. And it's something that Crimson Desert excels at. The story doesn't just live in big cutscenes and main missions either. It's also delivered through how the world reacts to you and how those systems gate knowledge in ways that feel like you're learning the world rather than simply consuming it. The game has an obsession with knowing as an act and not a checkbox. Locations don't always announce themselves with neon signs. Sometimes you have to look, hold your gaze, and let the game acknowledge that you're paying attention. That matters because it makes the fiction feel thicker. It's not just that you arrived, it's that you noticed and observed. It's that Cliff is just...
Hero fell. He said, I just pre-ordered it. Fuck it. For PC.
that kind of guy. He has to pay attention to keep the people alive around him. That's a subtle but powerful difference. And one of the reasons the world's mystery keeps breathing even after you've spent hours in a region. And sure, if you're like me, you're
Dragon's Dogma was so linear, though. It was a much linear game.
sitting there going, how does
Made it feel like it was open.
Cliff, a mercenary leader, well past
He's on the bear. He's on the bear.
the age of knowing better, not know what a damn butterfly is or a pod or wine or a particular sword. But that dissonance is where the game treats the player to the best parts. It's just overall true discovery as a system and not a means to an end. Whenever you decide you actually want to stop doing crimes against wildlife and return to civilization or help somebody out. The game also understands that modern players are basically time thieves, not because we're immoral, but because we have a limited lifespan and some people have backlogs. So it gives you some quality of life touches like rereading missed pop-ups through a notification menu, a searchable help guide, and quick access menus that allow for you to pull something up and look at it quickly. And the game's early inventory expansion is also, strangely enough, tied to townsfolk and helping them out. It's a small gameplay loop, and it's actually a little bit smart, learning the ropes of carrying people's burdens and learning how to carry more yourself tied together. If you want to carry more, you have to engage with the world's people. I liked that. Now, overall, you can still buy more inventory as you continue the game, but I did like the way it sort of
I love the way they just chuck them over the
There's also a
thing.
narrative here that's massive in its political instability for the story, personal leadership pressure, and the world that keeps telling you stories through lived-in details that you sometimes have to parse on your own. Crimson Desert is not trying to be a book. It's trying to be a full-contact playground, and that means the moment you stop talking about story in the abstract, you're immediately talking about movement, systems, and the way the game insists you interact with the continent like it's a physical place rather than a backdrop. For example, exploration. In Crimson Desert, it is very layered, and it's layered in a way that, yes, encourages experimentation instead of funneling you through.
Would you take there's a rhino right there, Sarge? There's a rhino right there next to the hippopotamus. Maybe you could tame the rhino. Who knows? Who knows?
One correct method, but can be a little bit confusing. First, there's traversal. You have mounts, horses as a baseline, but also more exotic rides and vehicles depending on where you are in the game's larger arc. And the handling tends to, I would say, prioritize responsiveness as well as simulation. It works quite well riding a horse around, giving them extra abilities, or later on a robot or a dragon. That sense that the developers want you to move and to roam and to improvise is built into almost everything. And that matters because the world's scale is probably one of its loudest, most clarion calls of success. When a game has a real draw distance, when you can see a structure miles away, walk to it, and it stays there the
I
whole
like these battles that we've been seeing.
time, that is not just a technical achievement. It's a psychology change in exploration. It stops feeling like you're hopping between spaces and places and starts
Roadkill says, I hope they have flamingos. That's what I really want to make on my mount. You want to mount a flamingo?
feeling
Okay.
like you're inhabiting a worldscape. One
No-
of the first
no
times I
judgment
played the
here,
game, I was about
Roadkill.
11 hours in, and I realized I had spent at least 7 of those exploring a mountain region and the areas beside it. When I looked back, not only was the town that I had come from there, but the pavilion outside it and a small cart that I had passed near its gates. That feeling of the world not calling itself away every time you go over a hill means landmarking is easier, and the sense of travel and progression is ultimately way goddamn better. On foot, the game's verticality is one of the defining features, and not verticality in the press jump near wall to magnetize way, though that somewhat happens. It's built around stamina and routes, where climbs are designed like little bits of miniature puzzles of endurance and really good graphical representations. You're watching your stamina meter, looking for ledges to rest on, planning your path like you're solving a bit of a...
It says they have flamingos. Look at the game trailer. There you go, bro. You can have a pet flamingo as your mount.
The physical
That would be fucking hilarious. I'll be honest with you.
problem. That's where
I'm waiting for the screenshot, Roadkill.
exploration becomes, I would say, its own reward loop. You're not going up because the game told you to. You're going up because, in a way, and in many fights, height is power. It's also a vantage point. It's discovery. It's a way to approach encounters from angles that change outcomes. It's also a way to use your special ability to look outside into the game world and find more abyss fragments to gain skills. And secrets matter, and those skills matter, because Crimson Desert is generous with the idea that the world should contain things
He's not gonna make
you
it.
didn't ask for and didn't
Not gonna make
expect. You can find skills through exploration, question marks, hidden spots, and odd encounters that teach you something without you spending any points. Many skills are learned that way. Watch an enemy attack, and then all of a sudden Cliff is like, now the student becomes a master, and he learns that move. Sure, it's light and heavy attacks, combos, dodging, and parrying when you're getting in fights, but a lot of the fights and the way the motive ends up playing out,
Was that a frog that just jumped there?
dodging and parrying when you're getting in fights, but
Yeah, it was.
a lot of the fights and the way the motive ends up
grasshopper.
playing out
It was
is
a
that
grasshopper.
combat wants to not just be a system that you engage in when fighting enemies, but you learn about as you explore the game world and watch others do so. It's very cool. The core of the character growth, though, does revolve around skills unlocked and upgraded using what's called Abyss artifacts. These function like a primary skill point currency and done in a very interesting way. You have branching paths, nested nodes, but they don't always lock you to a strict prerequisite. Like I said, you can watch somebody and learn a move that way. The branching is more thematic than restrictive when you end up buying things. Sure, there are some that say you need to learn this or you need to have an extra point here.
Juice says, good old Crimson Desert. I have pre-ordered 4 copies, one for myself, one for my wife, one for each of my daughter still at home. Nice.
Or there.
Family
but overall,
affair.
there was a bit more freedom than I expected. And with the game's combat being as complex as it can be, forcing linear progression on top would be asking a little bit from the player, so I like that switch up. Earning the Abyss fragments is tied around doing the game's core actions, defeating enemies, as I said, to learn those moves, saving a region.
We saw the dragon earlier, Mark Goodwin. It looked awesome. It looked awesome.
What do you think of the Intel Arrow Lake refresh?
Intel Arrow Lake refresh? I have no idea. What do I think of it? I have no idea. I don't even know what it is.
Finding another
I think you
artifact,
rushed through
completing
$2
major
though.
quests, or
Wanna ask another
solving
question?
Abyss puzzles. That loop pushes you into the world instead of into grinding a single hallway. It also makes the world feel like a skill learning engine. If you're wandering, you're probably progressing or learning more about the game. If
New
you're
Intel
fighting,
processor? I don't know anything of it. I didn't do any research whatsoever. So me saying something about it be just bullshitting you. So I have no idea.
progressing. If you're solving a puzzle, you're progressing. Some people are going to find that frustrating, but again, it's another system combined here. It's the idea that not only did these guys promise they were going to put a ton of mechanics in the game, but almost nothing is just going to be a shallow one-liner. It's going to actually be multiple steps. But I do want to give you a warning. Many of these are locked behind particular puzzles, of which there are a ton, and many are mind-bendingly difficult, and some of the boss battles as well, which I'll get to. Let's talk a little bit more about the combat. The game is an action RPG, so you have to be expecting that. It's built around a big moveset and some heavy input usage, and it's not shy about expecting you to use almost every button in multiple ways. That can be thrilling because it gives you really expressive freedom, grapples and throws.
Your wife was like, you have to buy a copy for everyone. You can't be the only one playing it. I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Wrestling style moves, weapon combos, aerial attacks, parries, dodges, special skills, but it can also be a place where the game's ambition turns around and bites it in the ass. When a game asks for layered inputs under pressure, the margin of error gets pretty razor thin, and you end up with moments where you know what you want to do, but your hands are negotiating with your brain like they're in couples therapy, trying to click on a directional pad when an enemy has apparently
It does seem like the camera would be a bothersome sometimes, not all the time, all depending on exactly where you're fighting and stuff, like indoors.
opened a consistent punch factory and its output is set to slave labor. Just trying to get that button hit can be quite difficult, especially when they're terrassing through the environment, destroying the set, other characters, and you. And you have to figure out how to retreat, block, then parry, use a healing potion on the directional pad when you're fighting with a camera that consistently feels like a friend of yours that only listens to that last half of every sentence you say and gets most of the entire point wrong. When it clicks, it's exactly the kind of chaos that makes open world combat feel less staged. You're not always fighting in neat arenas. You're fighting on cliffs, in water, in cramped alleys, on ridges, and the environment becomes a weapon whether you planned it or not. I was fighting an enemy who was really tuning me up, and I saw a stream nearby, and I thought, let's try this. So I sprinted towards it, I double jumped over the creek, turned around, and as the enemy slowed down and waded through, I was able to make their end far quicker than I had expected. And that terrain bonus for really understanding the game world consistently plays out. But make no mistake, it is not as smooth as some games you will play. The controls can be finicky, even out of combat. For example, hold X to grab something and tap X to jump, but the game fades in the interact button.
So holding an X, and tapping X, it can get a little bit confused. So it might not work properly when you're
You
fighting.
can spend a good couple hours fighting with the timing of picking up an item versus looking like you're doing plyometrics in plate armor, and it is a consistent complaint. With a good lock on and the ability to at least manually
What
adjust that
console
camera,
are you
at
getting
least
this
most of the
for?
combat you can get through quite easily.
I'm getting it for, well, the way it works is I would love to get it for PC. I have a PC that would run it, but I can't play it while I'm streaming. You know what I mean? So like if I'm streaming live and playing the game, it's not going to be the best experience because it's going to get stuttery. So I'm getting it for the Xbox Series X, but I'm not getting it right away because I want to see today when it comes out at 6 p.m. on my time, people actually playing it on the X to see if it actually is running well, if it's well optimized. If it's well optimized on the X, I'll pick it up on the X right away. If it's not optimized, then I'll wait a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever until they patch it out and make it better. So I'll be getting it on the X.
Now, it's not just combat. There's also activities and systems, and they want those systems to feel like actual processes. Resource gathering isn't just press a button near a tree. Use tools like a logging axe or pickaxe to collect timber, ores, jewels. But the world also lets you brute force some resource nodes with powerful attacks, shooting a hard-to-reach ore deposit with a charged arrow versus climbing up there and finding a ridge. That's a small design choice that has a big impact on the tone. It makes the world feel just a bit more physically reactive, and almost every system has more than one level to it. For example, cooking follows this philosophy as well. Recipes can be found or purchased in taverns and residential areas, and you have to actually read them to learn them, and then you cook at campfires. It's simple enough and it's readable, but it's grounded enough to feel like part of the travel fantasy. Set up, cook, recover, move on, or experiment with random ingredients while you're there to find some recipe that you like better than the ones that are sold to you. And it's not just picking them up. You, like I said, have to actively read almost everything in the game that you find. While many people will find that slow, it does actually solidify you into the game world. Regardless of what you're doing in any of these systems, you're going to consistently get gear of some kind. Now, gear acquisition and refining plays into this work for it kind of theme. Weapons, armor, and accessories are found as rewards for bosses, quests, exploration, and puzzle solving. And when you hit a wall,
we're actually saving up. We're saving up for a new PC. So just, financial reasons. I don't want to just get a laptop, just to do the thing. So like my computer, I got a 3060. I bottleneck at the processor. My processor is an i7. What is it? I forget what the hell it is now. 8600. I think it's a i7 8600. It's back from like 2016, 2017. I have enough RAM. I have enough the graphics card 3060. I can play all the games like when I'm not streaming, right? But on stream, it's just bad for you guys. I don't feel like spending more money on a laptop to do that. So I'm just going to save up for a new computer.
Boss or a difficult mission, you can also go and enhance at blacksmiths using materials that you've got. Later, you can also add parts of the Abyss fragments into weapons, giving them special moves. Just halfway through the game, I had a helmet that spit poisonous.
Plus, when I buy games I have an 11-year-old son. He loves playing video games. This is not a game for him, but more games that I buy on the Xbox or for the console, the more games he can play down the road anyway, because we can share.
Sword that arced out a huge ground trimmer and a horse that could not only pop wheelies, but also drift. I don't even know why it does, but it's pretty cool that it can do it. The other thing I really found to be engaging was the companionship system. They exist in a way that's more functional than I expected. For example, you can earn animals like dogs and cats as pets.
Yeah, the minimum specs for this game are very well. It's well optimized. Like you can get a 10, I think it's a 1080. You can run it on it. So you'll be fine weeks if you have a 4090.
But you don't just get them. You have to actually go and pet them or feed them, and you can't get a ton of points in one day. So it requires tracking that. And
I don't know if you see this, Roadkill. You see it? There's swans. There's swans maybe you can tame a swan. You can maybe mount a swan there, Roadkill.
Following it around. Even your horse, like I said, isn't a disposable vehicle. If it gets injured, it can become bloody and unable to run. You can heal it, weirdly enough.
See, now, Luke, in a very first video that we watched, he said he didn't know his horse was injured. But ACG just said,
like I said, isn't a disposable vehicle. If it gets injured, it can become bloody and unable to run. You can heal it.
So there is signs that your horse is injured. So he wasn't paying attention when his horse got injured and was like, oh, it's a feature. Yeah, it's a feature if you notice that your horse is bleeding and he's injured and you have to heal him.
Weirdly enough, by using a healing force palm. So animal abuse apparently heals animals in this. Nothing like punching your horse to heal it, but even the horse gains skills, as I said before. And that may sound like a lot, but it's not even a quarter what's in the game. And of course, that ambition, it lives and dies on presentation. Crimson Desert is very clearly built to be stared at. Its world scale is insane through draw distance, environmental density, and when you combine that with active NPC animations, wildlife variety, and just bustling settlements, it creates this sense of civilization pressing into wilderness rather than just isolated hubs. It's a very specific kind of world-building trick. We see it in some games. Making the transition zones, though, feel real, or a location being where you expect it to be, works greatly. Also, when it comes to the
that's a big fucking pig. Jesus.
consoles, we've now seen some footage on Digital Foundry, as well as IGN got to see the base PlayStation, and they actually perform quite well. We'll have to see over the consistent use.
Yeah, but to be fair, about being fair to Luke, he said he didn't know, meaning he didn't pay attention because the horse, as ACG said, was that if it's bleeding, you can tell it's injured. He just didn't know. It was like, how come my horse isn't running? And then when he asked, They said, oh, yeah, it's a feature.
But for what I'm playing, it makes sense, and here's why. On a true performance scale, I have a 4090 for the main test bed and a 2080 for the other. On the 4090 with all settings on high, I was getting well over 60 FPS with no DLSS turned on at all. Nothing. The game also has a ton of settings, from FSR and DLSS frame gen to global illumination, shadow, detail, texture settings, reflection, reconstruction, and other more detailed settings. It just runs stunningly well. And yes, it's got de novo already. And that's the performance even with de novo. So there you go. After my memory leak test, which was 18 hours of straight game time with loads, teleports, transition saves, resaves, and exploring one time with no saves for like 7 hours straight, the RAM usage had not increased much at all. It's really incredibly performant. Even in big open fights, lots of NPCs, heavy effects, shifting lighting, there are places where lesser games either crumble
So far, everyone says it's running great on the PC.
or start making some really ugly compromises. And yes, this game has those as well. I'll talk about that in a second. Presentation isn't only graphics, though. It's animation, crowd behavior, the way the world moves when you're not directly interacting. Crimson Desert leads really heavily with its idea of this being a living, breathing world. People reacting, gesturing, dramatizing, so towns don't feel like silent dioramas. When it comes to the issues, though, first, the game's got some pop in. It's almost a feature. It's so bad. It's not made.
So there you go. See, he said he's the first person to say the pop in. All right, from the videos that we watched. When we watched the other footage earlier in the week, in the month, whatever, all the other, I was like, oh, there's a lot of pop in.
Your location or item pop in, though, like you would expect, like a ton of trees. It's the
Go on, Salty.
minutia. It's a bit of rock, a small section of grass in the center of a trail or a road. It's disconcerting because it's so often, but it's also so small that while it shouldn't be noticeable, instead it becomes highly noticeable. Now, this is a visual trade-off. I wish they had a slider for minutia because other than
Like, you probably didn't notice it. And I'm not nitpicking here. It's just that I can, I notice stuff like this. Like, see this rock right here? I'll back up a little bit.
instead it becomes highly noticeable. Now, this is a visual trade-off. I wish they had a slider for
Like,
minutia because
It just pops in. It just pops in right there. Okay? It just appears. Right? And it happens all the time. Right? It just happens. It just appears in. And while you're going through the thing, now, again, I'm not going to look at this and go, oh my God, you see the pop in? I'm not going to get this game. It's very noticeable. And you notice it more and more as you see it. Now, this is what I'm waiting for on the console. If I notice it a lot on the console, I'm going to hold off a bit.
because other than that, this is one of the most stable, long and short distance image quality games I've seen in
Like the pop in with the branches, the pop in with the...
a long time. And I actually think it would be better to just have the gamer have the ability to turn off that minutia, because usually it's like a pile of bones over here that's repeated once or twice, or a little block sectional
Yeah, see, that just popped in there.
area that goes
That just popped in over here. That popped in over here.
off once or twice. And it's just this odd thing. When Crimson Desert's almost consistently stunning, even on lower settings, from water that's accurately modeled for collision physics and proper caustics to gale force winds whipping through
Is that a raccoon?
trees to wagons crumbling as you throw an enemy through it
Just pick up a raccoon?
off a cliff. It's got that Dragon's Dogma Deep Dark Night feel to it as well. It's profound.
Is he going to go drown the raccoon? Forget the pop in. I'm back in. I was out, and now I'm back in.
I found countless secret locations by going out into the nighttime and
Like, what is this game?
turning off the lantern and seeing a glow from a bandit in a cave or the slight reflection of some item tucked under some rocks that was accurately shimmering off the water in a creek. That is incredible and truly fantastic to feel. But that pop-in is just really weird. Also, there are some collision detection issues you might experience, and when it comes down to it, there were bugs with pathing and so forth, but nothing you
Yeah, see, when you guys see this, a lot of you won't notice it. I see a lot of
really
the
wouldn't
stuff, and I'm
expect
like,
for a game this big. And lastly, I just
is it a
want to
big
point
deal? Does the pros outweigh the cons? Right now, yes, the pros outweigh the cons.
out atmosphere. The atmosphere in this game is some of the best I've ever seen. The switches between icy mountains, bug-infected, massive battle sections, the ability for you to engage in fortress battles, massive bosses that you fight, and the different, just eclectic idea of all the environments, fantastic, despite that pop-in. Talking about something else that's fantastic, or mostly, is the audio. This is where the game, I think, either becomes immersive or becomes wildly sterile. Crimson Desert soundtrack aims to provide that blanket of travel noise. You got wind through trees, distant wildlife, shifting weather, while combat needs to have hard impact and clear directional cues, and mostly it does. When it works, you get a sensation that the world is wrapped around you. When it fails, you get these uncanny mime tavern problems, where visuals say busy, but ears say fucking deep space. In a game obsessed with physicality, audio has to reinforce the weight. Swords need bite, water needs presence, crowds need texture. All
Right, it
audio.
needs to feel
Voice
weighted.
acting needs to carry characters without turning every line into theater. Most of the time this hits, but standing near a waterfall and barely hearing the water is weird. Going into a busy room and hearing almost nothing while people pantomime their way through the
See, like the stuff that he's saying here, this might be a make or break for people. Like, the audio, right? Now, as Water's saying, don't worry, day one patch will fix this, perhaps. But this is exactly why I say no pre-orders, no day one, no full price for a half-ass game. This is not to say that this is a half-ass game. It's just to say, just hold up a second. Listen to things, right? Hear what people have to say. Today, we have more ways to watch people play the game before you spend your hard-earned money on a video game. Now, obviously, if you don't care, then you're not in that conversation. If you're a person that cares, like, man, I worked this long, I made this much money, I don't know if this game's for me. This is why we watch different reviews. This is why I give you my thoughts and opinions on stuff. I'm not trying to stop you from spending your money. I'm trying to help you either save your money or spend your money.
Discussions feels like a bug. It harms what's otherwise a pretty good soundscape, and it actually happens a lot in the interior locations. Now, on the voice side, the game's story focuses and suggests a more cinematic approach to the performances. So Cliff's characterization, yeah, he leans towards restrained leadership rather than nonstop quipping. That matters because too many open world games turn protagonists into over-explaining tour guides. Here, the tone is better served by a character who speaks when it matters and lets the world fill most of the silence. But I love some of the side characters. The rough-speaking third in command is consistent back and forth with other leaders in the group is awesome. Or a character laughing while eating and teasing someone. It's just a level of detail we normally don't hear in audio. It's the layered approach that reminds you that, oh, right, these people don't just stand there and pontificate like they're in the High School Musical. Musically, the game is fantastic. It hinges pretty heavily on the classical fantasy motifs, the ye-olde big feel of orchestral playing tense music.
Okay, sorry.
But
Like
hey, I get it. Sometimes it does feel like some dude's following you around with fucking oboe throughout the game, but it works. From exploration, combat puzzles, and quicker moments in travel, the score really has to be elastic and able to swell into full orchestral threats when bosses arrive and then thin out when you're cresting a hill at sunset. And the only thing happening is you realizing just how far you can see. And in all that way, Crimson Desert does incredible. And all that brings us to the intangible thing that matters more than any feature list, and that is fun. Not fun.
There it is. Fun. Right? That's the main thing.
Like a carnival ride, though the game absolutely has moments like that, but more wild traversal, ridiculous combat, surprise encounters, and atmosphere. Fun's that deeper sense, the feeling that the world rewards curiosity, that systems interlock instead of fighting each other, and that in your stories, it's not just scripted missions, though mostly it is, but it feels at times like
Dude, is that a mechanical dragon? Is that a mechanical dragon?
moments that are born from how you choose to move through the game. Crimson Desert's fun factor, at least in design intent and in how systems interweave, is built on discovery density, and I love that. A massive map, it's meaningless if it's empty, and if it's gamified and just one step deep, it's numbing. Here, the promise is that you can spend hours in a region and still find something new, a new hidden route, a chest tucked into some believable accident site, or a skill learned from an enemy you didn't even mean to fight, or a memory fragment hinted at by your land.
It did look like a transformer.
Turn in a cave, or a small town problem that turns into a bigger chain of consequences. That's a kind of loop that makes a game feel less like it's running out of content and more like it's hiding content from you within the game world for you to find. The same happens with the mini activities, of which there are a ton, each with their own rules, many times rewards, and ultimately just a fun way to interact with them. Exploring in Crimson Desert is one of the most fun things I've done in years, and that feeling of satisfaction from figuring out a puzzle by reading artifacts, listening to memories, and consistently studying the surroundings reflects great on the game. The fact that most of the game's many systems are multi-leveled in some way, from sending mercenaries to almost every location in the game to take on activities, black market trading, even the idea that shopping at a place doesn't require you to talk to the store owner. You can just walk around looking at their wares near them like a Sunday street fair and buy something right off the shelves. It's an amazing sense of immersion.
So you don't even have to go up to the person and be like, hey, I'd like to see what you have. You can literally just walk up and buy the thing.
While some other stuff is not so good. Crimson Desert's willingness, almost negligent desire to not explain things can be really off-putting. When a game over-explains, I would say it kills mystery. When it gives you just enough structure, quest tracking that keeps you oriented, but systems that still require thought, it feels good. Crimson Desert can lean really hard into...
It makes me wonder, because a lot of people are pushing about the no hand-holding, doesn't explain a lot of things, and they're... I wonder, and again, this is more of a different conversation, right? I'm 48. Right. And when we played games, nothing was explained to us. We had to figure out games. But now, because games have become, we call it like pussification, right? Where when you play a game, it tells you exactly where to go, how far it is. Everything is planned out for you. I wonder if we've dummied down like gamers over the years, right? And this is not an insult to anybody. This is just asking, like, psychological, where now people that play a game when they don't hold your hand, they're like, oh my God, this is such a bad design. It's like, is it though? Like, you figuring out things is part of the game. Like that's what I don't understand. Imagine doing a crossword puzzle, but the crossword puzzle already had the letters lightly inside the boxes. So you didn't have to actually think about what the crossword was. You just traced the letters inside the box. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it feels like when a lot of games now, it's just a time filler. It's not teaching you anything. You're not using your brain. You're just literally going from point A to point B, do the thing, and then go back.
Everything's a mystery. Trying to do a puzzle with almost no valid hints or fighting a boss that absolutely destroys you, and you have a hard time figuring out if you're early, if you're the victim of your own wanderlust, if you're on a mission you shouldn't be, or if you don't have a skill that is just randomly out throughout the game world that would make this guy easier, can be not necessarily super enjoyable. Mysterious decisions that the game makes that are almost criminal. Boss fights. Boss fight retries start most of the time prior to the cutscenes that are unskippable. Sure, you can...
They had to put a patch in. I know this is going to be a problem. The first time you do something, I understand there's no skip cutscene. But after that, they got to put it in where you can skip the cutscene.
Fast forward through them, but they are minutes long many times. So you have this lackadaisical feel to your reaction time where you're not really thinking about what the action was, you're watching once more. And instead of memorizing it because some jackass is talking in the background about fucking beats or something, by the time you get back into the battle, you're like, all right, now what was this guy's moves? There's also a reincarnation item you can get in the game to come back to life. It's only 30% of your health, and that's a decision. It boggles my mind a little bit that many of the friggin' bosses can hit you while you're still standing up from it though. And a lot of them have hyper-aggressive, many hit combos leading to a massive strike, and watching your
Stun lock might be a problem, huh?
dude bitter pill his way back to life just to have a boss hit you with a power attack, sending you flying off a mountain. It's so fucking infuriating. It's hard to describe.
You can hear it in his voice. Yeah, listen to that again.
Many hit combos leading to a massive strike, and watching your dude bitter pill his way back to life just to have a boss hit you with a power attack, sending you flying off a mountain. It's so fucking infuriating. It's hard to describe without an emoji that just looks like a giant middle finger. I have never been that frustrated by a game before. It seems like it is arbitrary. Either wait.
Now I wonder, and I'm not saying ACG did this. I wonder if he was underpowered or he went somewhere where the boss wasn't like, obviously as a gamer, you're like, I could do this, right? Like you're going to brute force it. But then something happens and then you're like, ah, you get so frustrated. Like I've tomahawked a controller into the ground when I was a kid. Okay. I get the anger.
And watch a cutscene for a while, or jump back in with one of your items, of which you only have a couple, to resurrect with 30% of your health, but there is a high chance the enemy is going to be slam dashing the shit out of you when you do so. It happens a lot. The other issue, and this is just not good, is the camera. The thing, no matter the setting, it just isn't up to the task, and managing it without a viewing system has strong transparencies of the location.
And again, it all depends on where you are on the camera with the buildings, the trees, the...
Sucks. Trying to find a rampaging boss in a room with pillars that he can smash through and see through, but you can't, sucks. Which means there's a very weird offset here. Let me explain this. Bosses truly feel like bosses, first of all, which is awesome, but Cliff quickly leaves the world behind when it comes to threat, the normal threat against normal guys. That means the game doesn't let you or require you to hone much in the way of skills when facing anybody but the bosses. Make 100 soups so I can bone bash my way through a boss makes a lot more sense than trying to figure out if there's some random thing I should do and sit through a cutscene to continually try to test it, or use one of my resurrection pills and consistently get just absolutely terror-dromed by some giant gorilla. Luckily, there's a sense of real satisfaction when you do take out a boss and you do it with one of the special moves that you've got, or sometimes just bone breaking them to death with a bunch of healing. It can still have a good feeling of satisfaction. But the best combat is really in the overall game world itself, just exploring and taking out enemies and learning a lot of different combat moves to do so, and just feeling very cool when you do. I just wish there was a bit more of a concerted effort to make them align a bit better, especially when it comes to the overall experience. Also, be aware of this, that a lot of bosses do actually just appear in the game world, and it can be a little bit easy to just walk into one or be following a...
Oh, I was like, what do you mean they appear? He's saying that you could just stumble upon a boss.
Quest line and have one in the open game world. I love that sense of synergy. I think that is just amazing to have those moments. So whenever I get a closed off one, it doesn't feel as cool. But when you have those ones where you're just exploring and you end up engaging with a boss, even if it does have some of these idiosyncrasies, still very fun. And a couple of the bosses, I really like their design. Lastly, we come to bugs. Crimson Desert is a massive game. It's a beautiful one, but it's also one that has its share of bugs, and the game's lack of informing you how some things work can cause you to sit there thinking, did I lose these resources? Or is it gone due to a system? Or is this a bug? Is this guard attacking me because I have a bounty, or is it part of the region system? The reason why I know most of these are bugs is because reloads fixed them. For example, the game has the Abyss.
This is multiple people have said this now. So if a problem's happening in the game, you just reload and it fixes it. That's a major problem. Hopefully, That gets fixed in the day one
spiritual
patch.
alternative world, and basically fast travel unlocking spot if you don't want to explore to find them. But many puzzles I've found are missing items or pieces, and on a reload, boom, that item's there. However,
I don't think I've
since
seen that
save spots can
hit.
be soft, meaning you save in one place and then alternatively load a bit prior to that walking, it sort of sucks to walk a little bit to find out if it's still glitched or not. Also, I had a lot of infinite loading screens and had to reboot. I had a respec bug that bugged out later skills. I had crashes at cooking stations. I had a ton of puzzles that their animations didn't start, meaning a reload was needed for that puzzle.
Right, and it would be frustrating. It'd be frustrating because you don't know. You're like, how come this is not doing the thing, right? Or if it's not doing a thing, you don't know. You're like, okay, I guess I'll reboot. You know what I mean? That's annoying.
To actually start moving because it was some kind of mechanical puzzle, and the only way to do that was to reload. Also, while you can summon your other leads as companions in the game to fight alongside you and even take them over, they're short-shifted compared to Cliff, and most of the main quests split you up anyway and send them packing. But they also have skills to be upgraded and powers to be learned. So that means you're forced back into the Abyss stuff, into the puzzle stuff, to get skills if you want to upgrade them and upgrade Cliff, which means sort of forcing you into something that isn't really absolutely nailed down. You're stuck thinking, why should I upgrade them versus Cliff, especially since most of the world is through Cliff's eyes anyway? When that respec bug gets fixed, it'll be much better. There was a patch during the review phase to fix it, but it still seemed to come up later in the game. And I had also a series of enemies in multi-stage quests, and when I say a series, I don't mean once or twice, I mean many times, where the
No, I understand that, Albany. Yeah.
bosses or semi-bosses and sometimes just normal guy was...
Some of them got fixed while they were playing it, but a lot of people, obviously, reviewers don't get the tutorials of the stuff. They're figuring stuff out themselves. The bugs that are happening are in the game. Like, they have nowhere to go. They have to wait for a day one patch. But to think that, oh, well, all the problems they're saying is going to get fixed day one, you can't say that. You have no idea what bugs are going to get squashed on day one patch or week one patch or 1 month patch, right? And you could go 40 hours in a game and you might have a completely different bug than someone else, right? Which Luke Stevens said earlier. He had a bug that was only specifically to him, and then he couldn't play, and then they fixed it in 38 minutes and gave it to him and stuff, right? So I'm not a person that's just like blindly in love or blindly hating something. I'm saying that if bugs are in the game, they could get fixed on day one, but they also could not. Look at Battlefield 6. It's still fixing problems from 6 months ago, right? So you don't know. And it also depends on how many people buy the game. If a lot of people buy the game and they're like, we already made all our money back, this little bug, we don't need to fix it. This is one of the reasons I say don't pre-order, no day one, no full price for a half-ass game. Regardless of how much people love games or despise certain games, my whole thing is about the business standpoint of don't give these people money, because if they get all the money, they won't fix the game. And again, I'm not saying that these guys won't do it. It's just the industry itself, that's what they do.
completely immortal. No matter how many times I hit him, no damage would come off. This isn't a boss. This is just a guy in a normal stage where for some reason the way it loaded or the way the enemy came in, I had all kinds of glitches there. And that absolutely sucks because those, many of them, are directly intrinsically tied to the actual presentation of the game and the world feel. So experiencing so many bugs, and I'm not the only one, can really end up not paying off in the long run. There's also some questions for balance, but I talked about that before, which is your overworld versus your boss locations and feeling a bit unbalanced there. One thing I do want to point out while working with these guys, they were patching up a bunch of stuff as it was coming up, even quality of life items.
Yeah, baby. Even if you wait, though, you know what I'm saying? Like, gaming doesn't need to buy on day one. You don't need to buy on day one. You can play. It's a single player game, right? As long as you don't go watch YouTube or streamers that are going to ruin the game for you. If you don't watch anything about the game, and then 6 months down the line, you pick it up, a year down the line. Hell, we just started playing Space Marines 2, right? Fantastic game. Fantastic game. But when it came out, I disagreed with the business model. And that's why I didn't purchase the game right away, right? I'm having a blast playing Space Marines 2. It's a fantastic game, right? But people had to wait 3 months, 5 months, 6 months for like patches to fix certain things. Now, I waited. I played other games. And then when I got Space Marines 2, it's fine.
So while this game does have a lot of bugs and a lot of idiosyncrasies, I do have a lot of confidence that some of these particular issues will be fixed quite quickly to make a more balanced presentation. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, wait for a deep, deep sale, or never touch it rating system. This one's got enough bugs and enough issues there with the imbalances that I would say this is a wait. I love...
You hear what he just said? Hear what he just said? This is why I like ACG, right? the whole time he's talking about it, he likes the game. You can tell he likes the game, right? But listen to his rating system.
So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, wait for a deep, deep sale, or never touch it rating system. This one's got enough bugs and enough issues there with the imbalances that I would say this is a wait. I loved a great deal about this game. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved it. And that's why it's so much more infuriating that some of these problems exist, because when you hit one, it's probably right at the time when your excitement is at the highest. And that happened to me so many times in this game where I was like, man, the sense of mystery, going to the abyss and doing this, going back and then losing 6 hours is awesome. I'm just joking. It's not awesome. Losing a couple of hours, it just sucks. And you're sitting there going, damn, man. And you would walk away and then I would turn around and be like, okay, I'm going to go a different way. I'm going to try this, and exploring the world again and just being like, oh man, I feel this. We're talking way beyond like a Dragon's Dogma exploration, which I really like, or many of the other games we played, just phenomenal. And fighting those guys, phenomenal. It's just a little bit piecemeal. But this is a title that has stated, hey, we're going to do a bunch of things. We're going to put them all in a game. There's that much going well in this game, which stuns me. So that's my warning to you. If you're okay with some of this oddity and you just want to explore the overworld, knowing that there are going to be some places that are difficult to get or not able to get to because you haven't done a boss fight or something, it's great. If you expect a teleporter or a transporter to be everywhere near a big city, though, don't even get the game. It's not like that.
Yeah. You're going to be traveling a lot. They made a beautiful world and they want you to go there.
Transporting in this game and fast travel is a real building mechanic in this. You actually build one in one of the locations. I'm not going to tell you where, but you actually end up putting one together. There are some places that you can find as you're exploring the game world, and when you go up into the abyss and you do all the platforming up there, which necessarily doesn't feel the greatest anyway, but when you're doing those platforming up there, you can unlock them as well. But don't expect every single place to have some kind of teleporter. It is not that kind of game. It is a game that definitely wants to sort of have you explore, even if you're popping out outside of a camp. And it's interesting to me that that same thing is sort of mimicked in the boss fights. They want you to wait a bit before you go in. They want you to wait a bit before you ride your horse into a town. And it just has some oddities there. But they did do a lot that they promised. And for that, I'm thankful, because exploring in this game, goddamn, it's good. And that's also why you'll probably see a walking the walk from me. I'm trying to figure out the timing for that right now, but most likely you'll see that in the next couple days. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys like the review.
So there you go. There's ACG's video. That's the fourth and last one we're going to watch. I don't think we're going to watch the last one. It's Paul Tassi. Paul Tassi has an article that he wrote that we can. Let me make sure I don't have. Do I have all four of these guys? I want to remove Paul's from down below. So we watched four different streamers or four different content creators today so hopefully you saw something there. Maybe you were going to buy the game and you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to hold off. Maybe you were going to hold off and now you're like, you know what? I'm going to buy the game, and that's fine, right? You do what you want with your money. I just try to bring as many people's opinions in and look at it and give you my objective opinion, all right, and or non-biased, I should say, opinion of what the game is. I'm interested in this game. I want to buy this game. I'm not getting it day one unless it comes out in Xbox on the Xbox Series X and it was like, oh yeah, it's perfect. But the little bugs here and there, I can wait. I got plenty of games that I'm playing. Okay, I got plenty of games I can play. There's updates for games that are coming out. So if I don't pick up the game, it's no skin off my back. I'll play it down the line. There's people that buy games and then don't play them right away. There's people that have backlogs. There's people that play the game and just jump in 1,000 hours in the next 2 weeks. And that, it is what it is. So we're here live Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We just cover news stories, have conversations. There is a podcast tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Called Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. Join me and Sarge, my real-life brother, as we talk about video game topics and news stories. That's 8 p.m. right here on this channel. I do appreciate everyone coming out. If you're new in the channel, I do appreciate you. Like I said, if you liked it, come on back tonight for the podcast, and then we'll be back on Monday morning for the daily grind. That's what the thing is. So hit all things. You can look at the shirt down below in the apparel shop. We also have songs that we have. I write all the songs, but the AI makes all the music. I'll play one going out on the credits. If you guys like them, you can go to Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. You can download them. You can stream them. You can do whatever. It all helps out the channel. I do appreciate you very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Yeah. Scroll, refresh, repeat. Another face, another voice, another beat. But none of it's real anymore. Welcome to the fade. Yeah. Woke up to a timeline full of ghosts. Fake smiles, fake art, fake quotes. Every thumbnail screaming, look at me. Same words, different fonts, same routine. Bots got opinions, bots got takes. Bots writing songs about heartbreak. Who lived it, who felt pain? Or was it trained on a million names? Keyboard kings with no soul inside. Copy paste, monetize. Original thought on life support. Buried under sponsored lies. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't bleed, but they compete. Grinding harder than you and me. 24/7 content machine. AI slop, pour it in a bowl. Feed the masses, numb the soul. Likes go up, truth goes cold. Everybody buying what the algorithm sold. AI slop, sounds just right. Perfect words, no human fight. Made too fast, feels too clean. Empty calories on a glowing screen. Art used to come from scars and sweat. Now it's prompts and presets. Make it viral, make it sad. Make it sound like something we already had. News written by code with no spine. Outrage schedule right on time. Rage bait cook, served hot. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. Creators drowning in the noise, trying to be heard, fighting bots. While the suits say adapt or die, as they automate the human voice. No risk, no shame. Same face, different name. Flood the net, crash the lane. Call it progress, call it change. AI slop, pour it in the bowl. Feed the masses, numb the soul. Lights go up, truth goes cold. Everybody buying what the algorithm sold. AI slop, day and night. Generated dreams in artificial light. Made too fast, feels obscene. Empty calories on a glowing screen. Yeah, it's convenient. Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah, it talks, but it don't speak. It can mimic, it can steal, but it can't tell you what's real. No childhood, no regret. No fear being misunderstood yet. So when everything sounds perfect, that's when you know it's counterfeit. I'm not scared of tools or tech. I'm scared of what we'll neglect. When speed matters more than voice, and humans stop being the choice. Farce just dead.